Chapter 1864. Ning Shu was lying through his teeth, but he did not expect to deceive Poseidon. He believed it, but it did not matter if he did not believe it. Poseidon was said to be all brawn and no brains, but he did not know how simple he could be. After living for so long, he could not be that stupid. Poseidon hesitantly picked up his trident and swung it at the ocean. The entire ocean roared, and the winds and waves were terrifying. Ning Shu shrugged. "See, you can control the ocean now, right? What I did before was just a camouflage." Poseidon was speechless. He kept feeling that something was not quite right. Poseidon calmed down, and the tsunami and hurricanes slowly stopped. Then Poseidon waved his trident again, and the waves rose again, higher and higher. Poseidon kept experimenting, and the ocean was about to be destroyed. The sea monsters were about to vomit. As Poseidon experimented, he studied Ning Shu. Ning Shu smiled and said, "See, you're still the god of sea. What I did was just a camouflage. Pretend to be cool for 3 seconds." Poseidon narrowed his eyes. 3 seconds is not bad. That's enough time to change the outcome of a battle. "I need this camouflage," Poseidon said. Ning Shu was speechless. "Hehe, who said that Poseidon was stupid? Tell me the art of divine punishment first, and then I'll tell you how to write the charm," Ning Shu said. Poseidon said, "Give me back my heart first." "I have to give you back your heart and teach you the charm. I'm already at a disadvantage. What if you run away with the heart?" Ning Shu wanted to know the difference between the curses of the East and the West. Ning Shu knew how to draw curses and charms, but he did not know the art of divine punishment. He would only be able to resolve it if he knew how it worked. "Teach me the camouflage first, and then I'll teach you the art of divine punishment," Poseidon said. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. He drew a charm in the air with Poseidon's golden blood. "Go!" The talisman floated towards the surface of the sea, and countless water droplets floated up. These water droplets converged into human figures, and they began to sing and dance. "See? I told you it was a trick, but you didn't believe me." Ning Shu shrugged. In the Far East, there are not only gods, but also humans who can cultivate. These things were all invented by humans. Ning Shu spouted some nonsense. Poseidon's expression was solemn. Humans can also obtain great power? This was not a good thing for the gods. As you can see, these effects are the power of the charm. It's just a smokescreen. Now you should teach me the divine retribution technique, or else I'll take your heart and run away." Ning Shu threatened, baring his teeth. "The art of divine retribution will consume the god's power," Poseidon said with a solemn expression. "Ning Shu, the divine power you're talking about is too general. What kind of power is it?" Poseidon glanced at Ning Shu. "Use your own divine blood to cast a curse with the power of faith." "Ning Shu, how does it work?" "Burn a drop of your blood and then curse someone. The art of divine retribution can only cast a curse on someone who is weak. If the other party is too strong, the curse will backfire." Ning Shu thought for a moment. This should be a rule of heaven and earth, one thing for another. Divine blood was the source of the god's power. Using a drop of blood to curse someone. This was an irreversible process, unless one's power was far greater than the other party's. Ning Shu asked, "Only God's blood can cast a curse?" "I told you, only the gods can use the art of divine retribution. A human like you has no right to use it. You have no right to punish others, except for the gods," Poseidon said, looking at Ning Shu with disdain. "Interesting." Ning Shu looked at the blood on his hand and saw a bird fly by in the distance. Suddenly, he said, "In the name of Medusa, I bestow upon that bird a firebird with great power." "What are you doing?" Poseidon was furious. He watched as the blood gushed out of his heart and was burned. He used his divine blood to bestow power to an ordinary bird. The art of divine retribution was not only a punishment but also a blessing. This was just a trade. In the distance, the bird, who did not know what was going on, suddenly felt no pain. It felt like its body was being torn apart. It cried out in pain. Finally, its body turned into a huge bird, covered in fire. "The bird, what happened? I'm so scared." Ning Shu understood what the art of divine retribution was. Whether it was a blessing or a punishment, there was a price to pay. Similarly, to deal with a curse, one had to pay more power than the curse. It was a product of an equivalent exchange. The price could be lifespan, beauty, or the power of faith. In short, there was a price to pay. It was not as good as charms and curses. Charms and curses were difficult to draw, and these charms required a lot of effort. An equivalent exchange. Now you should give me back my heart. Poseidon's face could not bear to look at it. Ning Shu really wanted to find a bottle and squeeze out a bottle of blood. He could use it slowly in the future. However, he did not have anything to hold the blood. Ning Shu thought for a while, turned water into a bottle, and squeezed the blood into the bottle. The golden blood shone like gold. After squeezing out a bottle of blood, Ning Shu threw the heart to Poseidon. The heart flew to Poseidon's chest, and the hole in Poseidon's heart was healed. Poseidon, he was going to destroy this woman. Ning Shu stood on the dragon's head and disappeared. Don't be disappointed. I will come back for you. Ning Shu waved at Poseidon. Sina. Ning Shu knew that he was facing some difficulties against the entire pantheon. Poseidon had suffered because of his carelessness. Poseidon looked down on him. The next time they met, Poseidon would use all his strength. Moreover, there was Zeus, Hades, and the other gods. Ning Shu ran away. Poseidon was so angry that his heart was about to explode. He had nothing to vent his anger on. He reached out to crush the flaming bird that was circling in the air. The flaming bird was frightened by Poseidon's power. It struggled to fly away, and its feathers fell to the ground in flames. The flaming bird flew in Ning Shu's direction, screaming at the top of its lungs. Perhaps Ning Shu had blessed it, but Ning Shu, who had flown far away, could hear its cries for help. Ning Shu stopped and looked a little puzzled. Then she turned around and flew back. The sound was too shrill, and it kept on screaming in Ning Shu's ears. Ning Shu could only fly back. He saw the flaming bird in a panic, flapping its wings and running away. With Poseidon's power behind him, the bird was scared out of its wits. Ning Shu pointed his finger, and a barrier surrounded the bird, blocking Poseidon's power. 39/39163/L. Chapter 1865. After all, this bird was the first creature she had blessed. Because of her, Poseidon was angry at it. The poor thing was scared out of its wits. After being enveloped by Ning Shu's enchantment, the feeling of death finally dissipated a little. The poor bird still did not understand what had happened. It did not understand why it had suddenly become so big and was covered in fire. It also did not know why this powerful person wanted to kill it. In short, it was confused. Ning Shu put the bird away and looked at Poseidon, who was chasing after him. He smiled and said, "Hi, we meet again." Poseidon put on a fake smile. The muscles on his face twitched. "You lied to me." Ning Shu asked in surprise, "What did I lie to you about?" "You did not teach me the camouflage spell and ran away." Poseidon held the trident and stood on the golden warhorse, full of divine power. Ning Shu's face was full of disbelief. "Didn't I already demonstrate it to you? Besides, I already know about the divine punishment technique after you told me about it." Poseidon silently looked at Ning Shu's exaggerated expression. The other party's expression made him look stupid. How was it possible for him to memorize such a complicated talisman after seeing the other party draw it once? Furthermore, he didn't mention any key points or anything that required special attention. Haha. Poseidon realized that if he really caught this woman, he would not be able to vent his anger no matter what kind of punishment or vicious torture he used. He hated her to the core. That was all. "Since you have walked right into my trap, teach me now," Poseidon said calmly. He was too angry, but now he was calm. "I will not take advantage of you. Look carefully." Ning Shu's fingers moved quickly. Did you see it clearly? As a god, he had higher intelligence, memory, and understanding than humans. After all, from a genetic point of view, the genes of a god were high-level genes. They were smarter than ordinary genes, had stronger bodies, and had a longer lifespan. "I did not see it clearly." "Draw it again," Poseidon said calmly. He was not as angry as before. Ning Shu frowned, feeling that something was wrong. He turned around and ran, but was stopped by someone who suddenly appeared. This person was sitting on an exquisite chariot with an eagle perched on his shoulder. His appearance was handsome and dignified. God King. Poseidon placed his hand over his heart and bowed slightly to Zeus. So it was Zeus. As the god of the sky, Zeus controlled all kinds of weather phenomena such as wind and rain. Thunderbolts and lightning were the means he used to express his will to mankind. He was in control of all affairs in the human world. As the king of gods and the father of mortals, Zeus's divine might was far inferior to Poseidon's. When Ning Shu faced Zeus, it was as if he was facing the might of heaven and earth, especially when Zeus used thunder as a weapon. As soon as he saw Zeus and Poseidon, Ning Shu could not help but think of the family history. Speaking of Greek mythology, one had to start from Zeus's grandmother, Gaia. Gaia was born from chaos. She was the first to give birth to her first child, the god of the sky, Uranus. Later, Gaia and Uranus got married. That's right, the mother and son got married and gave birth to many children, 12 titans, 3 cyclopes, 3 centimanes. Uranus was promoted to Zeus's grandfather. After the marriage, Gaia elected Uranus as the king of gods. It was said that after marriage, a man would change. Gradually, Uranus became obstinate and self-opinionated, disrespecting his mother and wife more and more. Thus, Gaia decided to overthrow Uranus and heavily reward him. Under the position of God King, the youngest son, Cronus, bravely cut off his father's. In other words, Zeus's father cut off his father's penis and became the king of gods. Zeus's grandfather's penis splashed out from the sea and gave birth to the goddess of love, Aphrodite, also known as Venus. Ning Shu. So this was how the goddess of love came to be. It was really hard to look at. As the third king of gods, Zeus was lustful by nature. Seeing Ning Shu wrapped in a thin veil and beautiful face, his old habits resurfaced. His eyes could not help but size up Ning Shu. As he did so, he kept touching his chin. Ning Shu felt that Zeus's gaze was like a laser, directly piercing through her. Meeting two perverts, really. The only one of the 3 brothers was not lustful. The cold-hearted Hades basically did not appear in the human world. Even if he did appear, he would bring death with him, bringing his soul into the underworld. With the god's power, Ning Shu suspected that he might have to have a threesome. Don't doubt it, it was completely possible. Is this the woman? Zeus asked Poseidon. King of gods, this is the woman. She is a human, but she has the power to resist the gods. This is not a good thing, Poseidon said directly. However, Ning Shu's ability to temporarily control the sea was hidden. If Zeus knew, it would not be good for him. Poseidon was not an idiot who did not know anything. Ning Shu pursed his lips, looking a little serious. Poseidon must have already informed his brother. Zeus frowned, looking very dignified. Dark clouds covered the sky. Zeus said to Ning Shu, "Come with me to Mount Olympus." "Where did your power come from?" Ning Shu said calmly, "King of gods, aren't you the omnipotent and omniscient god? You should know where my power came from. It is easy to guess. My power was given to me by the god of the sea. Goddess Athena also knows this. Poseidon, the god of the sea, personally said that my power was given to me by him." Zeus looked at Poseidon. What was going on? Poseidon was just making things up. Her power was not given to her by me, Poseidon said directly. Zeus looked at Ning Shu with a dignified expression and said, "Go to Mount Olympus." Ning Shu knew that if he went to the mountain, he would be tortured. As the king of gods, Zeus was sometimes arbitrary and cruel. For example, he treated his cousin, Prometheus. Prometheus had stolen the fire seed for humans and was punished by Zeus. He was taken to the Caucasus Mountains and tied to a steep cliff with an unbreakable chain. So that Prometheus could never sleep, his tired knees could not bend, and there was a diamond nail in his heaving chest. He had to endure hunger, the wind, and the sun. In addition, Zeus sent an eagle to peck at Prometheus's liver every day. However, the liver that was eaten would grow back immediately. It was a deterrent to the gods. If she really went, she did not know how she would be treated. Chapter 1866. If she went with Zeus, she wouldn't have a good ending. If she wasn't raped by Poseidon, Zeus might take advantage of her. If she went to Mount Olympus, Zeus's wife would definitely kill her. There were too many of these things. Zeus not only slept with goddesses, he also slept with mortal women and had many children. They were either gods or half-human half-god heroes. Therefore, Zeus was also known as the father of gods and mortals. But if she didn't go, she would go against the will of God, and the punishment would be unimaginably cruel. So she had to run, but only if she could escape from Zeus and Poseidon. And Zeus was the god king, so he had the power to deter the gods. What should she do? Can I be honest? I don't want to go, Ning Shu said as he drew a charm. The charm was used to make him invisible. You don't have the right to refuse. Lightning appeared on Zeus' fingers. Ning Shu pointed, and the power of lightning struck Ning Shu. Athena also had the power of lightning, but compared to Zeus's, it was like comparing a firefly to the moon. It was too dangerous. Ning Shu's body couldn't help but tremble. He quickly dodged the lightning, but it followed him like a shadow. When it struck Ning Shu felt as if his soul was being torn apart. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood. The charm was completed, and Ning Shu's figure suddenly disappeared in front of them. Other than Ning Shu, the firebird, who had been trembling in fear, had also disappeared. Zeus frowned and was a little surprised. He suddenly disappeared. God King, that woman is good at camouflage, Poseidon said. On the surface, Poseidon was respectful, but when he saw Zeus being humiliated, he gloated in his heart and calmed down. He wasn't the only one who was defeated by that woman. Now that she escaped from the God King, if anyone said that he couldn't do anything to a mere human, he would say that the God King couldn't do anything to her. Zeus carefully sensed Ning Shu's location, and then sent a thunderbolt in the direction of Ning Shu's escape. It struck Ning Shu's back. Her back was already dripping with blood, and her vision was blurry. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood and continued to run. It was so painful. Moreover, Zeus's thunder power kept crackling on Ning Shu's body. The electricity made Ning Shu's bones go soft, and he couldn't feel anything in his body. Ning Shu still didn't stop. If he was caught by the God King, the consequences would be dire. Ning Shu continued to draw talismans as he ran, as the duration of a talisman was limited. It was unrealistic for her to deal with a god with her current strength, especially when there were so many of them. There were also many war gods, gods with all sorts of powers. The lightning continued to revolve around Ning Shu's body. It was so painful that Ning Shu felt as if all the cells in his body were about to cry out. Just by relying on the power of lightning in his body, Zeus could pinpoint her location. It was so painful. The power of lightning was so strong that Ning Shu felt as if his soul was about to be torn apart. The God King's attack was extraordinary, and Ning Shu felt that the pressure behind him was getting stronger. It seemed that Zeus had caught up. The little firebird shivered beside Ning Shu. It was at a loss. Ning Shu's scalp was about to explode. His hands were drawing talismans so fast that they left afterimages. Ning Shu was furious. Isn't it just the power of lightning? I can even absorb the power of the sun and the stars. I can absorb the power of lightning as well. Ning Shu was also forced to use his peerless martial arts to absorb the power of lightning in his body. This was the first time Ning Shu absorbed such a violent power. The power of lightning rampaged through his meridians, causing blood to seep out of Ning Shu's body. The power of lightning was violent and unruly beyond Ning Shu's imagination. When it rushed into his dantian, it almost broke it. Ning Shu clenched his teeth and used his peerless martial arts to suppress the violent power of lightning. The power of thunder crackled in his dantian, causing his dantian to be turned upside down. Aside from spiritual energy, Ning Shu's dantian also contained the power of the sun and the power of the stars. These three forces occupied one area and were clearly separated. However, when the power of thunder rushed in, These three forces were stirred up into a turbulent state. The four powers in his dantian were in a mess, attacking each other. However, Ning Shu was in trouble. Ning Shu was about to cry. There was a pursuer behind him, and there was a power in his dantian causing trouble. However, if he didn't absorb the power of lightning, Zeus would soon catch up with him. Now, his dantian was a mess. It didn't listen to his commands and had no power. If Poseidon and Zeus caught up with him, wouldn't he be at their mercy? Although absorbing the power of lightning was dangerous, it was a way to kill two birds with one stone. He could gain another kind of power and get rid of Zeus's pursuit. The premise was that he could control the violent power of lightning. Damn, it hurt so much. If it was an ordinary human body, Ning Shu would have already turned into a pile of ashes. Her body, which had been trained in peerless martial arts, was much stronger than an ordinary body. Moreover, her strength was enormous. Zeus, who was chasing from behind, felt the power of lightning slowly dissipating. He couldn't even pinpoint the woman's position. There was actually someone who could resist the power of lightning. Even the gods would be afraid. Ning Shu felt as if her heart had been electrocuted into minced meat, becoming dumpling fillings. Her beautiful chestnut-colored hair, which was slightly curled like seaweed, had been permed into an afro, with wisps of smoke rising from her head. Ning Shu's gauze was also gone. Fortunately, she had the invisibility charm, so no one saw her running naked. Next time, she would strip Zeus's clothes and let him run naked in front of the gods. Regardless of whether it could be realized or not, he felt good. Ning Shu ran while adjusting and suppressing the violent power of lightning. Ning Shu struggled to let the four forces occupy his dantian. He felt that his dantian was very pitiful. Above it was the power of the stars, below it was the spiritual lake, on the left was the burning power of the sun, and on the right was the crackling power of lightning. His dantian was stuffed with all kinds of things. Barely suppressing the power of lightning, Ning Shu simply released the power of lightning. A huge hovering thunder dragon rushed out of Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu rushed toward Zeus. Zeus was the lord of thunder. When the thunder dragon rushed over, it directly scattered the thunder dragon with one move. Ning Shu took this opportunity to run faster. Without the power of lightning, Zeus couldn't pinpoint her position. If he didn't run now, when would he? However, he had barely mastered a kind of power. When it was windy and rainy, and thunder and lightning flashed, he could stand on a mountain and hold an iron rod to attract lightning. It was just that when the lightning entered the body, it was very painful. It was like being electrocuted to death. Chapter 1867. Ning Shu relied on the invisibility charm and quickly ran away. Zeus stopped in midair, his face a little ugly. Poseidon stood behind Zeus. His lips twitched and the corners of his mouth twitched. He looked as if he was gloating over Zeus' misfortune. Zhao Si turned to look at Poseidon, who immediately became serious. "Who is this woman?" Zeus Poseidon asked. "You should ask Athena. She should know better than anyone else. This woman used to be Athena's priestess." Poseidon threw the blame to Zeus. After all, this had nothing to do with him. Athena should thank him. If he hadn't taken a fancy to this woman, Athena wouldn't have known that her priestess had the power to fight against the gods. Yes, she should thank him. Let's go find Athena. Zeus drove his chariot in search of Athena. Poseidon thought for a moment and followed. Ning Shu ran for his life. He didn't know how long he had been running, but he finally stopped when his body was exhausted. Ning Shu landed on a mountaintop and collapsed on the ground. The invisibility charm's power dissipated, and Ning Shu was naked. Xiaohua, who was trembling, looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu pointed his finger, and water wrapped around his body. The white water wrapped around Ning Shu's important parts. Ning Shu turned to look at his back. It was a bloody mess. Now that he wasn't so tense, he could feel the pain on his back. It was such a pity for his snow-white, flawless skin. Ning Shu slowly used his spiritual energy to heal his wounds. The weather was unusually hot. Ning Shu pointed his finger, and water droplets appeared in front of him. Ning Shu swallowed the water droplets and felt much better. He also ate the fasting pill. Ning Shu looked at the bird that was hugging its head with its wings. He pointed his finger, and water appeared in front of it. The red bird looked at Ning Shu, opened its mouth, and swallowed the water. The bird called out to Ning Shu and slowly moved into Ning Shu. Ning Shu reached out and patted his head, thinking about what to do next. Ning Shu did not know where he was, but he felt that it was much hotter than Yadi City. Even the air was distorted by the evaporation. Ning Shu kept wiping his sweat as he absorbed the power of the fiery sun. From time to time, he would produce some water to drink. There were no signs of human habitation in the wilderness. Currently, there were not many humans, and they had yet to occupy every corner of the world. Ning Shu felt that he needed to find a set of clothes to wear. The weather was too hot, and the water on Ning Shu's body quickly evaporated. Ning Shu released the giant dragon and stood on its back, preparing to look for any signs of city-state gang members or people. Seeing Ning Shu leave, the fire bird hurriedly flapped its wings and chased after Ning Shu. Ning Shu said to it, "Go wherever you want to go, there's no need to follow me." The bird Ning Shu called out and flapped its fiery red wings. It was very afraid now and did not know where to go, so it might as well follow this person. It respected this person from the bottom of its heart. At least it would not be safe by her side. In any case, it was already scared out of its wits and did not know what to do. Ning Shu was now its support. It was originally a weak bird that did not know anything, but suddenly, such an unforeseen event happened. Even if its body became bigger, its heart was still small. Sparrows and sparrows knew the ambitions of swans. That was how it was, even its vision did not know how much power it had. Try to control your body and make yourself smaller. Ning Shu said. Such a big body was really eye-catching. The bird was dumbfounded. Don't ask it did not know anything. Ning Shu. Ning Shu pointed his finger and used a barrier to control it. The barrier kept shrinking, causing the bird to cry out miserably, flapping its wings and struggling desperately. Try to shrink your body and shrink together with the barrier. Ning Shu looked speechlessly at the bird that was about to collapse. The bird was dumbfounded, but if it did not shrink, its small body would be crushed by the barrier. It could only desperately shrink its body. The bird's body slowly shrank to the size of an ordinary sparrow. Its entire body was red like a ruby. It was a lifelike bird carved from a ruby. Ning Shu stretched out her white, slender, and beautiful hand. The bird flapped its wings and flew into Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu placed the bird on his shoulder and flew away on the dragon's back, looking for cities and towns. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the dragon and began to cultivate without stopping. Now, not only did she offend Athena and Poseidon, but she also attracted the attention of the king of gods. When the time came, would the gods come to suppress her? A sky full of gods surrounding her alone. Just thinking about it made her feel a little scared. Chirp, 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 the bird on Ning Shu's shoulder chirped. Ning Shu opened his eyes and looked down. He saw people. The dragon flew down, and Ning Shu touched the ground with the tip of his foot. Damn, he did not have shoes to wear. Ning Shu's feet stepped on the scalding ground. He felt like he was about to be roasted. This was a town, very primitive and simple. The houses were all built with thatch. It was located in the forest, surrounded by plants with wide leaves. However, the leaves were starting to turn yellow. The wild grass by the roadside had also turned yellow. The sun in the sky was extremely hot. Ning Shu walked over and looked around. What was surprising was that the people in this place were wearing thin gauze. Their weaving skills were not bad. Ning Shu's appearance caused these people to stare at him. Ning Shu wanted to find some clothes to wear. Ning Shu casually walked into a house. There were rustling sounds in the house. Someone should be weaving. The goddess of wisdom, Athena, had given humans weaving, animal husbandry, and agriculture. Now humans could also weave. They wore beautiful clothes and did not use leaves as cover like before. They were also warmer. Who are you? A dark-skinned woman asked Ning Shu. She looked at him warily. Her gaze stopped on Ning Shu's shoulder. She looked at the flame-red bird with admiration. Ning Shu said, I'm a passerby. I want to buy some clothes from you. Ning Shu saw some woven cloth hanging in the house. It could be made into clothes. The woman shook her head and said, "I'm sorry, I can't give it to you. I worked hard to make it. What are you going to exchange for it?" They had never met before. How could she give something to Ning Shu? "If you use this bird to exchange for it, I can give it to you. I can also make a set of clothes for you." Ning Shu immediately nodded. "Okay." The bird. The firebird grabbed Ning Shu's shoulder tightly with its claws. Ning Shu said helplessly, "Look, he's not willing to follow you. Then there's no other way. Do you have any other requests? Do you have anything else to exchange?" "I don't want to exchange for now." The woman shook her head. Ning Shu felt that he did not have anything valuable on him. He did not have any gems or gold. He was a pauper. He did not get anything by following Athena. He did not even get a salary. Chapter 1868. The only thing Ning Shu had that was valuable was Poseidon's blood, but he did not know if she knew what it was. "What is your wish?" "I can fulfill it for you," Ning Shu asked. The next time he did a mission, he had to exchange for some clothes. Otherwise, he would have to run around naked like he was doing now. The girl shook her head. Then she thought of something and said, "It hasn't rained for 2 months. There is almost no water in the well. Even if there was water, it would be muddy water." She had prayed to the gods for a long time, but there was still no rain. The girl was just saying it casually. She did not expect Ning Shu to make it rain. Ning Shu said, "If I can make it rain, will you give me the clothes?" The girl did not believe him at all. "If you can make it rain, I will give you the cloth and make you a beautiful dress." Only the gods could control the 4 seasons. This girl who appeared out of nowhere had her hair standing on end. She was beautiful, but it did not mean that she could make it rain. "It can rain at night. Get the clothes ready," Ning Shu said. Ning Shu lowered the temperature of the clouds. The colder the water vapor in the air, the more it would turn into water. This was the principle of artificial rain. The girl was skeptical. She did not believe Ning Shu at all. Ning Shu did not care. He found a place to sit down and asked the weaving girl, "What is your name?" The girl did not raise her head and said, "Arachne, are you not leaving?" "I have nowhere to go now. I have to wait for your clothes," Ning Shu said casually. "But I think your name sounds familiar." "Arachne, weaving." Ning Shu asked, "This is Lydia?" "Yes," Arachne said. "Ning Shu." Ning Shu looked at the dark-skinned woman and clicked her tongue. After running so far, she still met someone who was related to Athena. The young girl in Lydia was called Arachne. Her weaving skills were unparalleled. The woven shawl was as thin as a cicada's wing but as warm as a fur. The patterns on the fabric were so vivid that even birds flew in through the window to peck at the cherries on the embroidery. She was young and everyone praised her. She was so proud of herself that she boasted, "I am the best weaver in the world. I weave better than Athena." Athena knew about it, and so did the other gods. Athena immediately set out for the village of Lydia where Arachne lived. Arachne was in her room spinning and weaving. She heard a knock at the door and opened it. A tall blonde beauty stood at the door, looking reserved and dignified. He roughly guessed who this beauty was and knelt before her. A gentle voice came from above Arachne's head. "All right, lost girl, I am Athena. Can you give me a reason not to kill you?" Arachne shook her head and wept, begging for Athena's forgiveness. "Poor child, you are proud of your talent. Your talent will destroy you like the sting of a scorpion." Athena gave her a chance. The two of them made a bet that whoever could weave the most beautiful cloth would never be able to touch a spindle again. Arachne lost, of course. She was so terrified that she took a hemp rope and hanged herself. Athena saw that Arachne's face had turned purple, her eyes were bulging, and her hair was standing on end. Athena touched Arachne's shoulder. Arachne's face turned from purple to black, her eyes became more prominent, her body shrank, and her arms and legs became longer. Athena touched the rope again. The rope swayed and became thinner and thinner until it became a thin thread. At one end of the thread hung a hairy insect with many legs. The loser of the bet would never be able to touch a spindle or weave. The kind Athena turned Arachne into a spider and let her continue weaving in the bushes. Ning Shu, if someone wants to die, just let them die. Why turn them into ugly spiders? You turned Medusa into an ugly snake demon and a young girl into a spider. How many of them are so ugly? Arachne was proud of her weaving skills. Athena's transformation into an old woman made Arachne fear the gods. Arachne didn't care, but Athena must be angry. Did she really think that the gods were magnanimous? Ning Shu said, "You're pretty good. These fabrics are beautiful." "Actually, I can weave even more beautiful fabrics," Arachne said. "It's important to be humble. Making a fortune in silence is the way of the king." Arachne was a human girl. Although she was talented, she didn't have the strength to truss a chicken. This result was certain. As the ancestor of weaving, how could Athena tolerate a human saying that someone could weave better than her? "I don't know what you're talking about. Everyone says that I weave beautiful fabrics," Arachne said. Ning Shu propped up his chin and looked out the window. Some dark clouds had gathered in the sky, blocking the sun. The ground became a little gloomy. "You can make clothes for me now. The clouds are already gathering. It will definitely rain at night," Ning Shu said. "When it really rains, I can quickly make clothes for you," Arachne said. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the ground and began to cultivate. He had to seize the time to cultivate. With a boom, thunder appeared in the sky. Arachne was a little surprised. She walked out of the house and looked at the sky. Other than Arachne, many other people were waiting for the rain to fall. The thunder became more and more frequent. Ning Shu stopped cultivating and ran out of the house. He flew near the thunder. Ning Shu stood on a tree and watched the thunder approach. He decided to attract the thunder and absorb its power. Ning Shu took a deep breath and provoked the thunder. A bolt of thunder mercilessly struck Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu's hair stood up and smoke came out. Ning Shu opened his mouth and spat out white smoke. The power of thunder flowed in his body. He didn't know if it was because he had been baptized by Zeus' power of thunder, but Ning Shu felt that this thunder wasn't as painful as Zeus' power of thunder. Ning Shu absorbed the power of thunder. The power of thunder crackled in his dantian. It was a gain. Ning Shu kept provoking the thunder. The thunder rumbled, and one bolt after another struck Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu opened his mouth and spat out smoke. His skin and flesh were about to be cooked. After the thunder and lightning, the rain poured down. Everyone took out clay pots and held them above their heads to catch the rain. Some people ran wildly in the rain, while others danced. Ning Shu returned to the house. The thatched house was a little leaky and dripping rain. Arachne put away his cloth and prepared to make clothes for Ning Shu. He carefully looked at Ning Shu and asked, "I will make clothes for you. Are you a god?" Ning Shu sat down and began to cultivate. He suppressed the power of thunder in his dantian. Chapter 1869. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Arachne made a set of clothes for Ning Shu. The top was a tube top, revealing her arms and stomach. The bottom was a beautiful skirt with exquisite patterns. Her chest was full and her waist was slender. Ning Shu put on the clothes and twirled around. She felt like a cute little fairy. On Ning Shu's exposed belly button, Arachne pasted a small red crystal-like stone on it. Ning Shu's small waist and the sparkling crystal on her belly button made her look very beautiful, very beautiful. Her hair, which had been blown up by lightning, returned to its original appearance after being drenched in the rain. It curled up like a waterfall. "Very beautiful," Arachne said proudly. Arachne said proudly, "Many merchants will buy my cloth. They are so careful not to break it." Ning Shu nodded. "It is very beautiful. Very few people can reach your level of craftsmanship. However, you can only say this in front of me. Don't say this to everyone. Even if you have talent, you need the wisdom to protect yourself." Arachne tilted her head and said carelessly, "I didn't say this to everyone. Everyone says that my craftsmanship is on par with Athena's and that I will surpass her one day. They are just being polite and flattering you. Don't take it seriously." "There is no end to learning," Ning Shu said. Now, Arachne had made a beautiful set of clothes for her. Ningshu hoped that Arachne would not be turned into a spider by Athena. Arachne seemed to have been praised to death. Everyone was done with the cloth made by Arachne. Then, Arachne's arrogance amidst the praises spread to the ears of Athena and the gods. Athena would definitely find an excuse for a human to say such arrogant words. She would definitely be taught a lesson. Actually, I don't quite understand what you mean. Arachne asked Ningshu. Ningshu said, "What if I tell you that I know a little bit of prophecy about your future?" Arachne looked at Ningshu in surprise and asked carefully, "What will my future be like?" Arachne's brown eyes shone with light and a little nervousness. She was excited to know her future. "You'll die, and you'll hang yourself with a hemp rope when you're young and in your prime," Dawn Talk said directly. "Ah." Arachne covered her mouth with a look of surprise and anger. "How can I hang myself?" "Because you said that your weaving skills have surpassed Athena's." Ningshu said. "Everyone is praising your weaving skills. Because you said that Athena will turn you into a spider." "Spider?" Alanik looked puzzled. She didn't have any impression of spiders. Ningshu was not surprised because Arachne was the ancestor of spiders. And Arachne's was Arachne, Arachne, and Arachne. And Arachne was Arni, translation. Arni of Arachne of translation of the translation art translation was translation. Arachne looked at Ningshu's serious face and could not help but believe that Ningshu was telling the truth. She asked, "Then what should I do? Is there any way to change this fate?" Arachne asked Ningshu. "Trouble comes from the mouth. Don't say that your weaving skills have surpassed Athena's. Even if you have, don't say it," Ningshu said. "All right, it's time for me to go," Ningshu said with a smile. He had to deal with Poseidon and Athena. As for the fate of the future, he would take it one step at a time. The fall of a god was due to the fall of their divinity. Even if a god's heart was dug out, they would not die. If a god's divinity was destroyed, they would become an ordinary person. Otherwise, they would disappear and fall. Ningshu cultivated as he hurried on his way. Unfortunately, Ningshu couldn't seem to find the way back. He was running in a panic, so it was a little difficult for him to go back now. "Are you leaving? Are you a god?" Arachne asked Ningshu. "If you think I am a god, then I am a god." Ningshu smiled faintly. He stepped on the giant dragon's head and slowly rose into the sky. Many people stared at Ningshu and knelt down. In the blink of an eye, Ningshu left the village. Ningshu sat cross-legged on the giant dragon and began to cultivate. The most important thing was to familiarize himself with the power of thunder in his body. He felt a faint pain in his dantian. When he had absorbed the power of the fire sun, he had almost been roasted. Now that he had absorbed the power of thunder, Ningshu felt that his bones had become soft and numb. The firebird stopped on Ningshu's shoulder and chirped. Ningshu opened his eyes and turned to look at it. The firebird was dazzling under the sunlight, reflecting the luster of a gemstone. Ningshu did not know what was wrong with the firebird. Ningshu did not know what was wrong with her. The firebird lay weakly on Ningshu's shoulder, her fiery red wings covering him. What was wrong? Could it be that he was hungry? Ningshu took out a fasting pill and placed it in front of the firebird. The firebird pecked at the fasting pill, but because its body was too small, it couldn't swallow it in one gulp. The firebird directly transformed into a giant bird and swallowed the fasting pill in one gulp. After that, it transformed back into a small bird that was smaller than a palm. It seemed that it was really hungry. Ningshu touched his chin and looked at the fiery red bird. What would this bird eat in the future? With such a huge body, ordinary fruits would not be able to satisfy it. Forget it, it would solve it by itself. These pills are gone. If you want to fill your stomach in the future, you have to think of a way. It was so big and so powerful. She had to feed it. Could it be more useless? She was definitely able to control this bird now. What about when the Medusa returned? Would it be hungry and swallow the Medusa directly? Gratitude for a small amount of rice, hatred for a small amount of rice. Find whatever food you want to eat. Don't eat humans and don't provoke gods. Understand? Ning Shu said to the Firebird. Ning Shu had already helped you to be reborn. With such a big body, Ning Shu did not want to raise a giant baby. The Firebird flapped its wings. Sensing that Ning Shu was a little serious, it chirped. It was unknown if it understood. Ning Shu continued to cultivate and looked for Athena. What Ning Shu wanted to do now was to destroy Athena's divinity. Poseidon raped Medusa, Athena cursed Medusa, and the hero knight cut off Medusa's head and put it on Athena's shield. The hero used Medusa's head and then offered it to Athena. He was probably trying to please Athena. Athena had raised many human heroes. If she met the hero, she would definitely cut off the hero's head. Ning Shu's problem now was that she was lost. The world was so big and there were so few people. She did not even have anyone to ask for directions. She excitedly ran back to take revenge, but she could not find her way. This was a little awkward. Chapter 1870. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation unable to find the way back. Ning Shu had no choice but to use the GPS to locate Athena. 5 merit points were nothing to the rich Ning Shu. It was worth it to use 1 merit point to reduce the obstacles of the mission. Ning Shu spent 5 merit points and found out that Athena was in the Temple of Athens. With the map, it was much easier to find Athena. However, she ran around aimlessly and ran for a long time. Along the way, Ning Shu kept thinking about how to destroy a god's divinity. Divinity was the symbol and power of a god. It was like the power in Ning Shu's dantian. It meant a lot to Ning Shu. A divinity was strong and had the will of a god. With a divinity, it was equivalent to a god. It was not easy. There were so many gods and so many divinities. If she could master the law of time, it would be great. No one could escape from the law of time. However, he had to use normal power to destroy a divinity. If he used the power of law, Medusa would not use the power of law when she returned. He would definitely be at the mercy of others. This was a big problem. Ning Shu pondered as he cultivated. This kind of situation where the radish would be pulled out with the mud, and there were many melons on the vine was really difficult to deal with. Ning Shu felt that he might have to fight a whole sky of gods. If he could not win, he would be destroyed. However, it was not realistic to destroy all the gods because there were so many of them. There were all kinds of gods. The god of wine, the god of sea, the god of harvest, the god of curses, the goddess of beauty, the god of love, the god of sun, and the god of war. Even if he used a basket to store a divinity, he would have to store a lot of them. The most effective way was to have the power to make the gods fear and be on an equal footing with them. She could continue to cultivate her peerless martial arts, but how could she have the power to make the gods fear her? No one would dare to mess with her. Ning Shu decided to use Athena to practice. Even if he could not defeat Athena, she could still run away. After practicing with Athena, he would go find Poseidon. The tragedy of the client was caused by these two people. If anyone came looking for trouble with her after dealing with them, then he would kill them. If no one came looking for her, then she would be safe. However, that was not possible. As a human, her actions were treasonous and disrespectful to the gods. After a few days of running around, Ning Shu. When he returned to Athens, the armored soldiers were guarding the city gate. The previous turmoil had caused the entire city of Athens to fall into ruins. Now, the city was being rebuilt. Just as Ning Shu was about to enter the city gates, she was stopped by a golden-haired, heroic-looking man who was riding a horse and wearing armor. The entire sky above Athens was filled with Athena's divine aura. As long as one came into contact with the divine aura, Athena would be able to sense it. Ning Shu wanted to sneak into Athens quietly, but it was not. "Take off your veil," the man on horseback shouted at Ning Shu. The man looked at Ning Shu and asked, "What is your name?" The man gave the surrounding soldiers a look, and some of them surrounded Ning Shu. "Are you the evil priest Medusa?" The man, Ning Shu asked. "Oh, someone recognized her even when she was wearing a veil. She was really a natural beauty." "It is indeed you," The evil priest Medusa. The knight raised his spear and pointed it at Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at the man. He was tall and strong, and his voice was very loud. He held a spear and a shield in one hand, and there was a sword at his waist. How could he use so many weapons? Who are you? Lin Shu asked the knight. I am Perseus. Ning Shu. Ning Shu smiled. Zeus's heroic son had appeared, and he was the man who cut off Medusa's head. Ning Shu looked at Perseus expressionlessly, his eyes cold. Perseus felt goosebumps all over his body. Are you the evil priest Medusa? I am. What can you do to me? Ning Shu stepped on the giant dragon head and looked at Perseus condescendingly. Medusa, who was cursed by Athena to become a snake demon, was thrown onto an isolated island. King Aegeus had a prophecy that his daughter Danae's son would kill him and seize his throne, so he imprisoned his daughter. Another prophecy. Prophecies were really interesting. The lecherous Zeus turned into golden rain and mated with the king's daughter Danae. He made the king's daughter pregnant and gave birth to Perseus. The king's son he died. Thus he sealed his daughter and grandson in a box and threw them into the sea, leaving them to fend for themselves. However, they survived because of the protection of Zeus. After growing up, Perseus decided to kill Medusa to protect his mother. He took her head and offered it to the king. In the process of his adventure, he received the help of the gods. He knew the location of Medusa and obtained 3 treasures. Using these 3 treasures, he successfully killed Medusa and took her head. After Medusa died, her eyes could still turn people into stone. Half of her blood could bring people back from the dead, and the other half could be fatal. Medusa's terrifying power became a kind of protection. Perseus used Medusa's head to defeat the sea monster and save his future wife. He built his own country, Mycenae. In the end, he offered Medusa's head to Athena. Athena inherited Medusa's ability and turned Medusa into the image on Athena's shield. Ning Shu's son. What did Medusa do wrong? She was raped, cursed, and turned into a monster. She still had the same fate. Perseus, who came to take the head, actually received the help of the gods. They were afraid that this piece of trash would not be able to successfully cut off Medusa's head, so they gave him 3 divine weapons and equipment. Cutting off the head of an innocent person, or a hero. Medusa is eating your rice. Poseidon, who defiled Medusa, Zeus, who was with different women, and those heroes, they were not punished for their actions that harmed women. What was left was only the sins of women. It was all women's fault. Athena and Medusa were both women, but she punished Medusa and let Poseidon go. Her position made her think more about the power center, which was the gains and losses of the patriarchal system. Perseus appeared in the city of Athens. He should be here to get the equipment, right? He must be here to look for Athena. Ning Shu took off her veil and looked at Perseus with her head tilted. She wanted to cut off Perseus's head. When Perseus saw Ning Shu's beautiful face, he was dazed for a moment. However, he quickly regained his senses and shouted, "Vicious priestess Medusa, you have harmed the people of Athens. You have blasphemed against the gods. You should be punished." Ning Shu directly turned water into a water knife and cut off Perseus's head. If there's something, I'll update 2 chapters. Touch. Chapter 1871. Ning Shu was really annoyed with Perseus' righteous look. He was righteous and she was evil. It seemed like she had nothing to do with Perseus, and she had never hurt him. Ning Shu was disgusted by his behavior. He wanted to punish her just because of a reason. Even if I blasphemed against God, I didn't blaspheme you. You're just an illegitimate son of Zeus. Perseus' head was chopped off by Ning Shu. It flew in a circle in the air and landed on the ground, covered in dust. Perseus' expression was still filled with righteous indignation, and then there was a trace of fear. His handsome face was distorted. Blood spurted out from his neck, and Perseus' body fell from the horse's back. With a plop, dust flew up. The surrounding guards were stunned. Someone was beheaded just because of a disagreement. Moreover, the person was a prince. Although he had suffered since he was young, he was still a prince. The guards held their shields and spears and pointed at Ning Shu in the sky. Ning Shu's mouth twitched as he looked at the head on the ground. Perhaps he had the bloodline of God, or even the bloodline of the divine king. His head was separated, but he was still alive. Ning Shu opened his hand, and Porcius' head flew into Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu grabbed Porcius' hair and looked at him closely. "How does it feel to have your head chopped off?" Ning Shu said with a smile. Blood dripped from the neat cut on his neck. Porcius' expression was extremely painful and twisted. He looked at Ning Shu as if he was looking at a demon. Ning Shu liked this look. If he didn't do something, how could he live up to her reputation as an evil priestess? Since he had taken the blame, he had to do something to live up to his reputation. "Medusa, how dare you?" Athena's angry voice rang out in the sky above Athens. Then, Athena's figure appeared, and she locked onto Ning Shu with a supreme divine aura. Athena was noble and elegant. At this moment, her divine aura was dense. Dark clouds floated in the sky, and lightning crackled in the clouds. Athena looked at Porcius' head in Ning Shu's hand and said coldly, "Release his head." "I won't let go. I won't let go." Ning Shu grabbed Porcius' hair and swung it around. Blood splattered everywhere. Athena's eyebrows were raised in anger at Ning Shu. How dare he be so arrogant when he swaggered in like this? "Let him go," Athena said in a low voice. It was obvious that she was suppressing her anger. Ning Shu's face was cold and indifferent. Fiery sun energy gushed out from his palm and burned Porcius' head. Porcius howled in pain. He had to kill Porcius. Otherwise, she would definitely be reborn and come back to life. Gods had many tricks up their sleeves. Resurrecting a person was nothing to them. He was still alive even after his head was chopped off. What else was impossible? Porcius was roasted by Ning Shu's fire sun force, and he howled in pain with his mouth wide open. Athena's chest heaved up and down. "Do you know who he is?" Ning Shu smiled and said, "I know. He is your half-brother, Zeus's illegitimate son. That's why I want to kill him." He retracted the fiery sun energy in his hand and released the power of thunder, electrocuting Porcius. After the electrocution, Ning Shu used the power of stars to torture Porcius back and forth. Finally, Porcius roared and his head turned into ashes. Ning Shu patted the dust off his hands. If Porcius could still be resurrected like this, then she would have nothing to say. Athena didn't even bat an eyelid at Porcius' death. Porcius was just a mortal. Even if a god died in front of her, Athena wouldn't care. What she cared about was Ning Shu's blasphemy towards her and his attitude towards her. He even came to her city to provoke her. "You still have the guts to come back? Do you think you can resist any god just because you got some power from somewhere?" Athena said coldly. Ning Shu smiled and said, "No matter what, I am still your priest. There is nothing wrong with me coming back to take a look. Besides, I am also a citizen of Athens. Can't I come back to my hometown to take a look?" Athena's face turned cold. She held her scepter and struck Ning Shu with the power of thunder, hitting Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't dodge. He directly absorbed the power of thunder that Athena hit him. The power of thunder surged into Ning Shu's dantian and became Ning Shu's power. Ning Shu didn't even move in the face of Athena's attack. He said, "I'll let you experience the feeling of being struck by thunder." A dragon flashing with lightning appeared behind Ning Shu's back. It roared at the sky and charged towards Athena. Athena frowned. She was already shocked when he caught her lightning. Now, he was able to control the power of lightning. Athena's power of thunder was inherited from Zeus, the Lord of Thunder. Athena was perplexed by Ning Shu's ability to control lightning. Medusa was just an ordinary human being, a beautiful woman with no power at all. The dragon of thunder rushed towards Athena. Athena used her shield to block the dragon's attack and began to fight with it. Ning Shu stood to the side, a fiery bird chirping on his shoulder. The aftermath of the battle between the man and dragon sent sand and stones flying. There were many armored guards far away. Ning Shu's long hair was blown into a mess by the wind, slapping against her face. She couldn't see the battle clearly. He casually tied his hair up and found a tree branch to tie it up. Ning Shu thought that it was pretty. A pretty person would look good even with a curtain. Poseidon and Athena used their scepter to disperse the dragon of thunder. However, as soon as Athena took a breath, the dragon gathered again. Qi-Jin was not a living thing. It had no sense of touch and did not know fatigue or pain. It could gather again after being dispersed. As long as Ning Shu still had power in his dantian, Athena would never feel tired. Athena frowned, her expression extremely serious. She glanced at Ning Shu, who was leisurely beside her. Where did he get such evil power from? The person who gave Medusa power was hiding in the dark. Or was he plotting something? Athena analyzed the situation. This Medusa was against the gods. She looked down on them and wanted to kill them. It was simply outrageous. Athena suspected that someone wanted to overthrow the divine system. Their target was the gods of Mount Olympus. This Medusa was just a scout, used to test the waters. Medusa, are you Medusa? Or did some evil power invade your heart and soul? Did a demon take over your body? Athena's expression was serious. She used her scepter to disperse the dragon of thunder. She was tired of the endless dragon. Chapter 1872. Athena was distracted by the lightning dragon, and she had many questions that she had yet to answer. She used her scepter to absorb the power of the lightning. Athena's scepter crackled as it trembled. Perhaps it had absorbed too much energy at once, causing it to tremble slightly. Ning Shu's expression did not change. Athena pointed her trembling scepter at Ning Shu and asked, "Who is behind you? Is it the sword of Olympus?" Athena asked. Ning Shu spread his hands and said, "Since you are asking, can you at least show some sincerity? I won't tell you with your attitude." Athena squeezed out a laugh from her throat. Her expression was full of contempt. Who doesn't know how to laugh? Ning Shu also laughed. Ning Shu thought for a moment and flew to the front of the temple of Athena. Athena was shocked. She chased after Ning Shu and shouted, "What are you doing?" Ning Shu stretched out his hand and flicked the huge statue in front of the temple. Although Ning Shu's finger was thin and weak, Ning Shu's flick caused the huge statue to tremble. If Ning Shu had used a little more force, the statue would have collapsed. Athena was so angry that her hair stood on end. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and a strong wind blew. God was angry. Ning Shu released the power of the stars. A dragon made of thousands of stars roared out from Ning Shu's body and wrapped around the huge statue. Then the dragon tightened its grip, and the statue began to crack. In the end, it was reduced to rubble. You have gone too far. When Athena saw that her idol had been destroyed, she was furious. A huge thunderbolt exploded in the sky, and the earth began to shake as the earthquake began. Strong winds blew, and the earth shook. Dark clouds covered the sky, and it looked like the end of the world. The citizens of Athens were terrified. It had started again. Their houses hadn't even been repaired yet, so why was it starting again? Ning Shu said, "Don't be like this. Your city is destroyed." Athena was furious. This woman had bullied her way into her territory, and now she was pretending to be concerned about her people and her city. Thunder boomed in the sky, and dark clouds covered the sun. The whole world was so dark that one could not see their own fingers. The people of Athens were trembling in fear. They felt that God had abandoned them. Ning Shu did not care about this at all. Even when lightning struck him, Ning Shu absorbed the power of the lightning and converted it into his own power. Considering that Athena's scepter could absorb the power of lightning, Ning Shu did not release the lightning dragon. Instead, he released the star dragon and the sun dragon. The burning fire dragon rushed toward Athena. In the dark world, the burning fire dragon was very dazzling. It was ominous and dangerous, as if it was going to destroy the whole world. Athena raised her shield and blocked the fire dragon's attack, and a huge storm annihilated the fire dragon. Athena's shield had been lent to her by Zeus. Once the shield of Zeus was wielded, it would create a powerful storm. Its power was unstoppable. If Zeus held the shield of Zeus, the sky would be clear. But once it was in the sky, it would cause lightning to flash and thunder to rumble. Later, Zeus lent the shield to Athena, so there were two sides to the shield. The two shields were different, but they were equally powerful. They were also indestructible. Battle and ferocity were all installed on the shield. Ning Shu was not in a hurry. He released the power of the stars. The power of the stars was the strongest among all powers. It contained the power of thousands of stars. The star dragon rushed toward Athena. Ning Shu pointed his finger at the sky above Athens and set up a barrier. If they really fought, Athena would not care about the people in the city. Now that the two of them were fighting, they would not care about anything. If they fought, they might destroy the whole city. In order to avoid losing his merit points, Ning Shu set up a barrier to prevent the city from being attacked by the aftermath of the battle. As the star dragon fought with Athena, a scepter appeared in Ning Shu's hand. Since everyone liked to use scepters as weapons, she decided to follow their example and use it as a high-end weapon. Ning Shu raised the scepter and attacked Athena with the star dragon. Athena was a little weak, but she was still a god of war. Her battle power was off the charts. Athena's hair fluttered, and the armor on her body became brighter. She was a mighty goddess of war. Ning Shu did not want a stalemate like this. He wanted to destroy Athena's divine spark. The power of a god was endless. Besides Athena, there were countless other gods. Being in a stalemate with Athena was not something to be proud of. Besides Athena, there were many powerful gods. If these gods attacked her together, Ning Shu could only laugh. He had to take out an effective and decisive power that could destroy or intimidate a god. Ning Shu had been thinking of ways to destroy a god's divine spark. Ning Shu's fingers flew, forming a seal and drawing a talisman in the air. Freeze! The body-securing talisman hit Athena's body, and her body was immediately frozen. However, in the next second, her body trembled slightly, and she was about to break out of the talisman. Ning Shu immediately mobilized the power of the sun, spirit energy, star power, and thunder in his body. Ning Shu was compressing 4 different types of energy. She had to balance 4 different types of energy, and it was very difficult to fuse them together. Ning Shu's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He did not dare to relax at all. All of his mental power was used to fuse the powers. He was fully focused and did not dare to be careless. Otherwise, the violent repulsion of the powers would blow her up. Athena quickly broke free from the control of the body-securing talisman. She held the scepter and sent out a powerful thunderbolt at Ning Shu. Ning Shu's hair stood on end. The fused powers in his dantian almost collapsed. Ning Shu drew a talisman in the air and froze Athena again. The 4 powers turned into a thin needle and shot directly into Athena's forehead. Then, without Ning Shu's mental control, the compressed powers exploded in Athena's mind. Athena held her head in pain. Blood flowed out of her 7 orifices. Athena looked up to the sky and roared, "Despicable human, I will kill you. I will make you suffer the fire of the underworld every night." A huge storm circled around Athena, protecting her in the middle. Chapter 1873. The 4 opposing forces didn't do anything to Athena, only causing her to bleed from her orifices. However, Athena's expression was one of extreme pain. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her hair was flying in the wind. Athena held her head in pain. She didn't retaliate against Ning Shu, which meant that she was in a lot of pain. Perhaps she didn't even have the strength to retaliate. Ning Shu's skirt fluttered in the wind, but Ning Shu didn't move. "What are you trying to do? What is your goal?" Athena's voice was filled with pain. She stared at Ning Shu with her bloodshot eyes. Especially in such a dark environment, the 2 bloody holes in her eyes were particularly frightening. Ning Shu remained unmoved and continued to condense the fine needles. Because of the previous experience, Ning Shu condensed the fine needles much faster this time and was much more proficient. The needles flew towards Athena's forehead. Athena had already suffered once. This time, she used her shield to block the needles. The needles exploded, and the huge force caused cracks to appear on Athena's shield. Athena's arm that was holding the shield went limp. Her bones had already been shattered. Although she was at a disadvantage, Athena raised her chin. She looked noble and awe-inspiring. "Who are you? What is your goal?" Athena endured the pain in her head and asked in a hoarse voice. Ning Shu smiled and said, "Actually, I don't have any goals. I just want to live with dignity. I want to live according to my choice. I don't want to be raped, cursed, or beheaded." "Those who offend God should be punished," Athena said coldly. "There was no right or wrong. Only the strong should punish the weak." Medusa was a human, and a human woman at that. Since they didn't realize the harm they had done to women, they naturally wouldn't sympathize with women. Instead, they would let women bear the greatest responsibility. Even if Medusa was forced to do so. Ning Shu condensed 2 more needles and threw them at Athena. Athena's arm was already injured, so she could only block one of the needles with her shield. Unable to resist the other needle, the needle pierced through Athena's forehead. Athena's expression was a little sluggish, and then her 2 eyeballs exploded. The huge pressure and explosive force in her head caused the fragile eyes to explode first. Athena roared, holding the scepter and muttering something in the ancient language of the gods. Her voice was sonorous and powerful, and it caused people to tremble. The sky was getting darker and darker, as if it was going to press down. There was an aura of death that made people's hearts feel like they were going to explode. Ning Shu frowned. Athena was about to unleash her ultimate move. Ning Shu hurriedly set up a barrier around himself. His fingers flew as he drew a talisman. The talisman hit Athena's body. It only lasted for a second before Athena broke free from the talisman's power. Ning Shu condensed a few thin needles, some of which rushed into Athena's body, while others rushed into Athena's glabella. Athena's divine body suffered great damage. A huge force exploded in her body, destroying the structure of her body. Golden blood seeped out of the corner of Athena's mouth. 2 lines of bloody tears flowed down her face. "Medusa, a godslayer like you will not have a good ending. I curse you with my life. You will become an ugly monster that no one can approach. You will be a lonely monster that feeds on filth. You will be alone forever. Anyone who approaches you will die." Athena's gloomy voice reverberated between heaven and earth. The echoes were abnormally terrifying. The thick black smoke of the curse drifted towards Ning Shu. The black smoke of the curse enveloped Ning Shu. Perhaps because the curse was too powerful, Faith Halo was unable to break it. The cold and vicious aura flowed through Ning Shu's bones, tearing at Ning Shu's body. It was very painful. Athena hated Ning Shu. She used her own life force as the price to curse Ning Shu. However, Ning Shu was completely fine. Athena, on the other hand, paid for it with her life. Athena roared. The barrier that Ning Shu had set up around the city of Athens shattered. The entire city was under Athena's attack. "Ah, despicable human. Athena let out an unwilling roar. Countless streams of divine power gushed out of her body and shot towards the city of Athens. The streams of power were like comets crashing into the earth. Athena wanted to destroy the world. Athena vented her hatred for Ning Shu on the entire human race, including the people of Athens who had always worshipped her. This was a god. She had all the characteristics of a human. Her hatred, anger, and viciousness were amplified. Ning Shu's expression was calm as he quickly set up a barrier. All the water in the wells of Athens was instantly sucked dry by Ning Shu, forming a water barrier in the sky. Ning Shu continued to strengthen the barrier. Streams of divine power crashed into the barrier like boulders. The barrier shook violently, causing the ground to tremble. Even the dormant volcanoes were awakened, and lava spewed out. The end of the world. For the people of Athens, this was the end of the world. Ning Shu tapped the magma with her finger, and the violent magma calmed down. Ning Shu stabilized the magma that had already splashed out, not allowing it to flow. Ning Shu gritted his teeth and continued to strengthen the barrier. "This is a grudge between you and me. What does it have to do with Athens? Moreover, this city was named after Athena. Athena was no longer able to stand. She lay in the air. Humans are all ungrateful. People like you who kill gods and blaspheme gods will continue to appear in the future. Athena's sense of superiority was vividly displayed. Gods were not to be humiliated or blasphemed. Gods were high and mighty. Ning Shu chuckled and saw that Athena was no longer breathing. Even if she didn't kill her, her life had already been extinguished by the curse. The disaster on the ground continued. Ning Shu continued to strengthen the barrier. His divine power was still resolutely carrying out Athena's will and destroying the city. Perhaps Athena was afraid of humans, or perhaps she knew that she would not be able to live on and was unwilling to leave her city behind and use someone else's name. In short, she wanted the entire city to be buried with her. In a sense, the city of Athens belonged to Athena. She was obligated to protect the city and had the right to deal with it. Athena's body floated in the air. Star's spirit wrapped around Athena's body and dragged her in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu touched Athena's forehead and felt power gathering in her mind. He touched Athena's chest. Her heart was still beating slightly. It was very weak. If he did not pay attention, he would not be able to feel it. Chapter 1874. Athena's body no longer had Athena's aura, but her heart was still beating. Now that Athena was dead, perhaps a new Athena would be born as time passed. She would also be called Athena, but her personality would be different. She would be a brand new god. How could this be possible? Although this process might take a long time, Ning Shu did not want another Athena to appear. Although it would be a brand new Athena, she would definitely inherit Athena's will. If Athena's will was to destroy humanity or to kill her, it would not be a good thing. A dagger appeared in Ning Shu's hand, and he directly cut open Athena's head. However, her divine body was really hard. Athena's head was a bloody mess, like golden watermelon juice. The power of the thin needle had destroyed Athena's head. Ning Shu reached into Athena's head and fished something out. It was sparkling and translucent, like a magnificent crystal. Ning Shu looked at it. This should be a divine spark, the embodiment of a god's power and will. Ning Shu pinched the divine spark. It was very hard. Ning Shu chuckled and used all his strength to pinch the divine spark. A crack appeared on the divine spark. Then, like a spider, the crack spread all over the divine spark. Finally, with a slight cracking sound, the divine spark turned into dust. As the divine spark was destroyed, Athena's body was also destroyed, turning into ashes. At this point, Athena had completely fallen. There was no more goddess Athena in this world. Without the will of the divine spark, the divine power gradually dissipated. The dark clouds in the sky slowly dispersed, and the sun shone brightly on the ground. Ning Shu covered his eyes with his hand. The light was too strong for his eyes. The trembling ground also calmed down. Everyone was in a state of confusion and helplessness, in a state of stupefaction. In the end, one after another, they began to cry. Ning Shu turned around and looked at Athena's temple. Without the protection of the divine power, the temple looked dim. Ning Shu could collapse it with a single breath. Ning Shu stretched lazily. At least one of them had been dealt with. No, two of them had been dealt with. One was Medusa, and the other was Perseus. Now, only Poseidon was left. The people who were directly related to this matter had been dealt with, but the people who were indirectly involved had appeared. She might have to go against the Olympian gods. Oh my God! At that time, Ning Shu felt that her calves and stomach might tremble when she saw the black mass. Ning Shu floated in the air and looked at the desolate city of Athens. He shouted, "Athena is dead. This city is no longer habitable. God may punish the people of this city. Everyone run." This place was already in ruins. Rather than rebuilding it, it was better to move to another place. Based on Athena's experience, it was inexplicable for God to vent his anger on her. Because she was a human, God wanted to exterminate all humans in the city of Athens. When Zeus arrived, he saw that his daughter had been killed by a poisonous ant and the ant's nest had been set on fire. The people of Athens panicked. Hearing Ning Shu's words, they didn't have time to understand what had happened. They only heard that the god who protected them was dead. Because they might be punished by the gods, they all packed their bags and ran. Then, like ants, they all fled from the city of Athens. Ning Shu sat on the dragon's body and headed towards the sea. Then he went to find Poseidon. Ning Shu practiced compressing his power into thin needles while thinking about how to kill a god. He suddenly realized that a god's vitality was really strong. She might even be reborn. Although she might not be the same person after being reborn and her personality might change, Athena's position would still be there. She might even inherit the will of her predecessor. So, he had to completely destroy the divine spark and the divine body so that the god would disappear from this world. Should he use the thin needles to directly destroy the divine spark? Should he use the thin needles to directly pierce through the divine spark? But the divine spark was in a god's mind and couldn't be accurately located. If he could make the thin needles accurately locate the divine spark and destroy it, he would be able to create the most powerful attack. She could create the greatest attack power under limited conditions, and after she left, she could become Medusa's trump card. She could allow Medusa to survive so that others wouldn't dare to have any ideas about her. It must be said that Medusa was also suffering. Once a person was unlucky, they would not be able to rest in peace even after death. After Medusa was beheaded by Perseus, Perseus used her power to establish a country. In the end, she became Athena's shield. Anyone who saw Athena's shield would turn to stone. This was Medusa's power. They even claimed that Perseus was a great hero for helping Medusa to end her curse. Fuck you. When Ning Shu passed by a town, she bought some sheepskin and some brushes and ink. She bought these items to write down some charms. Some of the brushes and ink had magic. The notes written down would never dissipate. Other than the gods, there were also witches and all kinds of creatures with magic. Of course, these weren't gods. The ink and brush that Ning Shu bought had magic. Oh, where did Ning Shu get the money from? There were too many gems in the temple of Athena. Just a few of them were priceless. After Ning Shu left the city of Athens, a person appeared in the destroyed temple of Athena. This person sat on an exquisite chariot and looked at the ruins of Athens and the temple. He couldn't help but frown. He carefully sensed Athena and found that Athena had died. She was no longer a god in this world. Athena actually died. Zeus on the chariot had a solemn expression. He used some methods to find out about the battle. The battle between Ning Shu and Athena appeared in front of him. Especially when he saw Ning Shu crush Athena's divine spark, he couldn't help but frown. Thunder rumbled in the sky and dark clouds covered the sky. Zeus was angry. Athena was one of the 12 main gods of Olympus. She was the goddess of war, the goddess of wisdom, and many other gods. In the patriarchal pantheon, Athena held an important position as a female god. It was quite amazing. But now, she was killed by a human and completely annihilated. This made Zeus very angry. Although Athena was a woman, she strictly followed the will of Zeus. Athena, who jumped out of Zeus' brain, was the continuation of Zeus. She was the continuation of Zeus' thoughts and will. Zeus snorted. The entire city of Athens shook violently. Cracks appeared on the ground and swallowed the entire city. 39/39163/L. Chapter 1875. The ravine-like fissure destroyed the city of Athens and also caused Athena's temple to disappear and be buried in the huge ravine. Since then, the city of Athens had disappeared, and one of the 12 main gods was gone. Zeus looked at Ning Shu, who was standing on the dragon's head. She had her hands behind her back, and her dress fluttered in the wind. She was a beautiful girl, but a lowly human. She was Athena's priestess, but now she had killed Athena. Would Poseidon be next? In terms of relationship, Athena was his daughter, and Poseidon was her brother. Poseidon had a bad temper and ambition, and he wanted to drag Zeus down from his position as the god king. Zeus could punish Poseidon, but that did not mean that a mere human could kill a god. This was unforgivable. Zeus drove his chariot towards Poseidon's sea palace. Since the human girl could kill Athena, Poseidon was in danger. This was a slap in the face to all the gods. Although there were too many gods to count, and if one or two of the 12 main gods were missing, they could promote other gods, but this was simply a disgrace to the gods. 2 main gods had been killed by a human. Would the humans still have any respect for the gods? Would the humans still believe in the gods? This was not a simple matter of one god dying. It concerned the entire pantheon and the interests of every god. Zeus' chariot was very fast, and lightning flashed around him. Everywhere he passed, dark clouds gathered, and there was a downpour. Some places were even flooded. Ning Shu stood on the beach and walked into the sea as if she was walking on flat ground. Her dress was not wet at all, and she walked in the sea. The seawater was salty and wet, and all kinds of fish swam past Ning Shu. Some were as small as a finger, and some were huge, strange fish that could swallow countless small fish in one gulp. There were all kinds of sound waves in the sea that could not be heard by human ears. This was a unique way of communicating with sea creatures. There were even sunken ships, and some of them had chests of gems and gold coins. After dealing with Poseidon, she was going to search for treasures. Food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation all cost money. She was an ordinary human, and she had to eat. The firebird stood on Ning Shu's shoulder and was wrapped up by Ning Shu's barrier. It chirped in shock. Ning Shu could hear the excitement in the firebird's voice. The bird that flew in the sky could now enter the sea. This bird's IQ was very low. In the past, it was only the size of a baby's fist. There was only a little bit of brain matter in its brain, so its IQ was not too high. Ning Shu was thinking that when he was almost done with his mission, if he could find the herbs needed to concoct the wisdom pill in this world, he would concoct 2 for it. If they were big and tall without any brains, they would only be caught and roasted by the gods. In the future, there would even be people who would come to slay the bird. One had to know that heroes, knights, and people with a bit of power wanted to slay an evil dragon or a powerful creature to display their great power, make people worship them, and leave their names in history. Ning Shu arrived at Poseidon's sea palace. The sea god's sea palace was magnificent, and it was made of crystal. There were sea demons patrolling the sea palace. There were also mermaids holding weapons and guarding the sea palace. Ning Shu used a water barrier to wrap his body so that others could not see him. Ning Shu swaggered into the sea palace in front of these patrols. This sea palace was very luxurious. There were all kinds of jewels and pearls everywhere. The jewels shone with a beautiful luster. Poseidon was really rich. For a god, with a long life and wealth at his fingertips, he did not seem to use money much. Life was really too boring, too lonely. With nothing to do, he would just have to have sex with different people. Ning Shu strolled around the sea palace, looking at all kinds of beautiful corals, shells, and a rare beautiful sea view. He vaguely heard some sounds, charming and ambiguous. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. He was afraid that she had come at the wrong time. Poseidon was in a good mood. Ning Shu followed the sound to a palace and saw a scene that burned his eyes. Poseidon was rolling with a blonde beauty. Poseidon was kneeling on the bed, holding the blonde's waist. The hair on Poseidon's chest made Ning Shu feel like he was going blind. The hair on his legs was as if he was wearing pants. It burned his eyes. Being raped by such a beast, Medusa felt bitter. Because of the enchantment, no one could see her figure. Ning Shu walked to the side of the bed. The battle on the bed was still intense. Poseidon was a god with a strong physique. This woman seemed to be a siren. There were a few shining fish scales on her temples. Her body was curvy, and her expression was painful and happy. There was a spasm as if she was on the verge of death. Faint sounds floated out of her mouth. The air rippled with a sweet and ambiguous smell. Ning Shu stood by the bed expressionlessly. There was a shell bell at the head of the bed. As the bed shook, the shell also jingled. Ning Shu compressed the 4 forces into a thin needle. After continuous practice and compression, Ning Shu could now compress the needle smaller and smaller. It was as thin as a hair. Previously, it was the size of a needle used to make insoles. Now it was as thin as a strand of hair. However, the force inside was more violent. Like a spring, the more compressed it was, the stronger the rebound force. This needle was much stronger than the one used on Athena. Poseidon was still hugging the beauty. Ning Shu flicked his finger, and the needle flew towards Poseidon. Poseidon felt the danger and quickly turned around. As soon as he turned, the needle shot into his forehead. Poseidon's body froze. A huge force exploded in his mind. It felt like an atomic bomb had been thrown into his head. Poseidon was naked and clutching his head. The woman beneath him was so frightened by Poseidon's appearance that she ran away without putting on any clothes. Poseidon roared in pain. Huge waves surged on the surface of the sea. One after another, the waves crashed onto the land. Ning Shu pointed with her finger and the entire ocean calmed down. Who is it? Poseidon was in pain from the huge force in his mind. Medusa, is it you? When Ning Shu escaped, he turned invisible. Poseidon thought for a moment and knew it was Ning Shu. Gods were really powerful. Even their brain tissue was destroyed, but they were still alive. Godhood gave them great power. It seemed that he had detonated it at the wrong time. He should have hit the divine spark. Ning Shu condensed a few more needles and shot them at Poseidon. Poseidon endured the pain in his mind and dodged the needles. 39/39163/L. Chapter 1876. Poseidon was naked, and his muscular body was full of wildness. Although Poseidon had avoided Ning Shu's needle, he was still in pain. His divinity seemed to have been damaged. Medusa, Poseidon said through gritted teeth. His blood-red eyes looked around. Show yourself if you can. Ning Shu did not appear. Poseidon had the advantage of not being able to see him. Why should he appear? Ning Shu released the thunder dragon. Poseidon used his trident to fight the dragon. Ning Shu appeared behind Poseidon and compressed the needle. The hair-thin needle pierced into the back of Poseidon's head. Poseidon roared in pain. He seemed to be in extreme pain. Ning Shu closed her eyes and sensed the needle. She was attached to the needle with her mind power. She knew what the needle was doing inside Poseidon's head. Ning Shu used her mind power to check the situation inside Poseidon's head. Although the head was small, it was like a universe inside. Was the head of a god a small world? She sensed a huge, irregular, crystal-clear divinity floating in the air. The needle shot directly into the divinity, and a crack appeared in the divinity. Ning Shu detonated the needles, and the godhead immediately suffered great damage. It was blown to pieces. Poseidon did not seem to be in pain. He held his head. His eyes were blood-red, and his pupils could no longer be seen. No one knew if he could see. Without the support of the divinity, his power was weakened. He was weak. Poseidon was wrapped around by the thunder dragon. If it tightened its grip, Poseidon would be smashed into pieces and completely annihilated. Ning Shu revealed herself and looked at the dragon-shaped chi force that was flashing with lightning all over her body. It's you. Ning Shu nodded. It's me. Ning Shu looked at the naked Poseidon. A dagger appeared in his hand. Poseidon looked weak. When he saw the dagger in Ning Shu's hand, he could not help but move. He asked, "What are you doing?" Wouldn't it be better to cultivate one's body and mind if one gets rid of the root of evil? Ning Shu said with a beaming smile. Because of her beautiful face, her smile was like a spring breeze, but the words that came out of her sexy and captivating mouth made people tremble in fear. Vicious woman. Poseidon could not help but roar. You are so vicious that you cannot be tolerated in this world. Even if I die, there will still be divine punishment. A vicious person like you won't be able to survive divine punishment. In Prometheus, Zeus once took revenge on mankind for stealing the fire seed. When Zeus saw the flames rising in the human world, he was furious and decided to kill these unruly people. So he ordered Hephaestus, the god of fire, who was famous for his craftsmanship, to make a statue of a beautiful woman. Athena gave it life with magic, Hermes taught it language, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love, gave it all kinds of charm. Zeus named this beautiful figure Pandora, which means woman with all gifts. Because the gods had given her a gift that would endanger the human race. Zeus sent this young woman to the human world. She went straight to Epimetheus, the younger brother of Prometheus, and asked him to accept the gift from Zeus. Zeus was also quite interesting. You created to help mankind, I let your brother destroy mankind. Prometheus had warned his brother not to accept any gift from Zeus on Mount Olympus, and to immediately return it. But this adorable brother was so enchanted by this woman that he forgot this warning. Pandora walked in front of Epimetheus and suddenly opened the lid of the box. The disasters inside flew out like black smoke. They included disease, disaster, jealousy, theft, greed, sin, and so on. At the bottom of the box was the only beautiful thing left, hope. But Pandora followed the warning of Zeus, the father of the gods, and quickly closed the lid before it flew out. So hope was forever locked in the box. Since then, all kinds of disasters filled the earth, sky, and sea. Diseases spread through the human race night after night, wreaking havoc, but they were silent. In order to exterminate mankind had to endure all kinds of disasters and death caused by all kinds of diseases. The gods' attitude towards mankind was not so friendly. You won't survive. Once the apocalypse is triggered, only the truly kind can survive, Poseidon roared. Ning Shu brushed his hair. At least I'm still alive now. You're sure I'll die first? Your actions will affect the entire human race. The entire human race will suffer because of you. Poseidon sneered. Because of the pain, the muscles on his face spasmed from time to time. I can't even control my own fate. I can't care about others, and I can't bear the fate of the entire human race. Mankind will not go extinct, Ning Shu said calmly, waving directly at Poseidon's lower body. He directly chopped off Poseidon's right and wrong root. Rapists were unforgivable. They vented their desires on the weak and powerless body without any scruples. Ning Shu stomped on the ground and looked coldly at the pained Poseidon. Golden blood flowed down Poseidon's leg. Poseidon sneered. Ning Shu looked at Poseidon and sneered. Are you cursing me? Athena did the same, but she's dead now. The world no longer has a god named Athena. Poseidon's face twisted with disbelief, anger, confusion, and fear. Why? Why did he have to go to this extent? You used to be Athena's priest. You worshipped and worshipped Athena. You killed Athena like this. You have no fear or belief in the gods. When Poseidon spoke, his voice trembled because the pain in his body was too much for him to bear. He felt his life force fading away because his divinity was destroyed. Why? I believe in myself. I don't have any prejudice or opinion against the gods. But what did the gods do to me? And what about the heroes under the banner of destroying evil? Ning Shu's dagger stabbed into Poseidon's chest. There was a beating heart, but it was very weak now. You are a vicious woman. Golden blood flowed from the corner of Poseidon's mouth. Men like you have to be ruthless to achieve great things. You don't care about trifles. You can achieve great things. Women are vicious. It seems that women shouldn't have ambitions. They should live a peaceful life. They shouldn't love power and stand aloof from worldly affairs. It is unforgivable for women to have ambitions and tricks. Women should be pure and kind or smart and have no ambition for power. There are many different kinds of people, but women can only be one type. You must be kind and have no ambition. 39/39163/L. Chapter 1877. Her biggest wish was to find someone she loved and spend the rest of her life with him. She had to be naive and sweet. Love had to be spoiled. Growth had to be forced by bad people. All she wanted was for the man to be able to control her. She was working hard for her goals. Sacrificing anything was her business. An outsider like you had no right to say anything. Should women be born ignorant, pure, and kind? Should they not be ambitious and ambitious? Should they not take the initiative to pursue fame and power? She was willing to sacrifice herself. That was her choice. She was willing to live for herself. That was her choice. She wanted to live like a human. Ning Shu sneered and twirled the dagger. Poseidon groaned. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Golden blood spurted out from his chest. Ning Shu quickly caught the bottle. Poseidon was speechless. This woman was really evil. Evil human. Ning Shu was catching the blood when he felt a huge pressure behind him. The danger made his hair stand on end. Ning Shu quickly dodged. However, the bottle in Ning Shu's hand was broken by a bolt of lightning. Golden blood flowed to the ground. Ning Shu looked at Zeus, who had suddenly appeared. He smiled. His smile was like a flower, and his eyes were curved. He looked like a cute girl. However, when Zeus saw Poseidon, who was entangled by the lightning dragon, he was not at all fooled by Ning Shu's smile. Zeus felt that this girl had a similar temperament to his wife, Hera. She had a strong personality. Hera was the queen of heaven. She had great authority. Even the gods were afraid of her. She was domineering and jealous. She also liked to fight. Even though this girl appeared to be a beautiful and fragile woman, she was actually a poisonous rose. God King. Poseidon looked at his brother. Even though he had almost no feelings for him, he could not help but feel conflicted. This was especially so before his death. Zeus was majestic. He looked at Poseidon, who was in a sorry state. He did not even have any manhood left. He was crushed to a pulp on the ground. It was unbearable to look at. What a useless piece of trash. A human woman has done this to you, Zeus said with a frown. He then dispersed the thunder dragon that was wrapped around Poseidon. Ning Shu clasped his hands behind his back, his face expressionless. So what if she was a woman? Was it humiliating to be done in this way by a woman? There was something even more humiliating. Without the restraints, Poseidon lay in a pool of blood. The flesh below his navel was a mess. Zeus looked at Poseidon, who looked like he was about to die. He could not help but frown. Get up. Poseidon wanted to get up, but he had no strength left. Poseidon's body was destroyed. This again, another prime was gone, and Zeus was about to explode. Ning Shu smiled. Zeus looked at Ning Shu and said, "This is very funny." No, this is a victorious smile. I'm smiling. I love to smile. Can't I? Ning Shu retorted. You're in charge of the heavens and the earth, and you're even in charge of my laughter. This was the first time he had met someone who looked down on a god. Zeus raised his eyebrows and asked, why? Another person asked her why. Why did she do this? Was her action so outrageous, so rebellious, and so stupid? Was it not stupid to go against a god? It's simple. You want to kill me, so I have to make the first move. Ning Shu shrugged. He could not just lie there and let them kill him. He could also be smart enough to kill himself first. You have offended a god. You have blasphemed a god. Zeus looked down at Ning Shu. He was high up, holding thunder in his hand, ready to judge Ning Shu. Ning Shu's ears had grown calluses from listening to these words. These gods were always talking about the gods. There was no room for disrespect, no room for disobedience, and no room for rebellion. Everything depended on one's mood. Even a god could not do anything about it. For example, Apollo had a son called Asclepius. He could heal and save people. He could even bring the dead back to life. However, this broke the natural order. Hell was empty. Hades was furious. He went to Zeus for judgment, but Zeus killed Asclepius with thunder. Although Apollo was sad, there was nothing he could do. Kindness required the ability to protect oneself. It also required the ability to see the big picture and act appropriately. Ning Shu floated up and stood facing the god King Zeus. Zeus frowned when he saw Ning Shu's actions. No one had ever been able to stand on the same level as him. Even the gods had their own unspoken rules to find their own position. If he was a human, he would have prostrated himself in front of a god. Zeus finally understood how Athena and Poseidon felt. They had met such a ruthless human being, yet they had been looked down upon and killed by him. Damn it. However, Zeus was as good as Athens and Poseidon. Where did Ning Shu get his strength? He had the ability to kill a god. He was a threat to the Olympian gods. Zeus felt a strong sense of crisis. He was afraid that this was a test for the gods. Zeus held the thunder in his hand, and a strong divine aura erupted from his body. The entire sea palace shook, and the sea began to churn. The patrols outside the temple were terrified. They did not know what was going on. The divine aura that erupted from the temple stopped them. The temple was like the bloody mouth of a monster. Once you entered, you could not leave. Therefore, the patrols ran away with their tails between their legs. They ran away to see what the sea palace was doing. Zeus silently raised his position and looked down at Ning Shu. Where did your strength come from? Who gave it to you? What are your intentions? Ning Shu shook his head. Oh, no one gave it to me. My strength is my own. If you say it was given to me, then it was given to me by God. I have no intentions. I said I want to live. If you want me to die, then I can only fight with all my strength. A trace of contempt flashed across Zeus' handsome face. Life and death had long been determined. Pluto controlled the underworld. Ning Shu smiled. Everyone will go to the underworld, but there is no rule about when I will go. At least I will not be killed by you. Ning Shu said softly, I don't know if Poseidon and Athena will go to the underworld. No. They have been completely annihilated. Even their souls are gone. How can they go to the underworld? Zeus narrowed his eyes. Was he provoking him? No one had ever dared to talk to him like this. Zeus looked at Ning Shu and suddenly said, You want to become a god? It doesn't matter. Is it that important to become a god or not? Aren't there people who can't resist the temptation of becoming a god? It just means that gods aren't that impressive. Ning Shu smiled, revealing her white and neat teeth. A beauty should smile more. 39/39163/L. Chapter 1878. Rather than calling these people gods, it would be better to call them primitive people in the guise of gods. The identity of gods wasn't that noble. In the end, the people who dominated the various planes and worlds were human beings. Then why are you doing these things? Zeus asked Ning Shu. It was clearly throwing an egg at a rock. There was no reason, and no benefit. There was nothing to be gained. There was simply something wrong with her head. Ning Shu asked, Will you let me go? Blasphemy against the gods is unforgivable, Zeus said majestically. See, who was the idiot here? It was so obvious, yet he still asked her why. What was he after? Ning Shu chuckled. Zeus narrowed his eyes and said, The divine punishment is to punish people like you who blaspheme against the gods. The oracle is supreme, so your resistance will only make your end more miserable. Ning Shu asked, Then should I lie down and let you kill me? Even if it was a last-minute struggle, she would bite off a piece of flesh from them, or she would die in vain. Even if her current actions seemed very stupid, she still had to fight like a cornered beast. Zeus suddenly laughed. His face looked dazzling, handsome, and charming. Actually, I don't want you to die so early. Ning Shu blinked her eyes. Should she kneel down and thank God for his grace? Zeus looked down at Ning Shu. I suddenly thought of a punishment. I want you to try it. Last time, the eagle pecked your heart and liver. It wasn't that scary. Oh, was he playing psychological warfare now? Ning Shu put his hands behind his back and asked with a smile, What kind of torture? Put you in a closed bathtub with only your head exposed. Smear goat's milk and honey from the bees on the cliff on your body, attracting all kinds of insects, snakes, and ants to gnaw on you. But you won't die because of this. Feed you every day, excrete in the bathtub, and soak in filth. You can clearly feel the gnawing of maggots. Zeus looked at Ning Shu with the holy light of the gods on his face, but he was talking about torture. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. Zeus asked, Aren't you afraid? I'm scared, of course I'm scared. Ning Shu said, I also have a torture method. Do you want to hear it? The corner of Zeus's mouth twitched. She didn't look like she was afraid, and she was even discussing with him. Ning Shu ignored the strange look on Zeus' face and said, There is a form of torture called rat burrowing. That is, a person and a rat are locked in a closed space, and then a fire is lit. The rat is very afraid of fire, so it will keep burrowing to avoid the fire. If it can't break the iron cage, it will burrow on the person's body. After the torture is over, the prisoner's body will be full of bloody holes, and his intestines will hang out from the bloody holes. When humans tortured and killed their own kind or other animals, the tricks they came up with could be said to be unique and unique. They could be as cruel and bloody as possible. Zeus looked at Ning Shu silently. Just like Poseidon said, "You are a vicious woman." Ning Shu smiled and said, "You flatter me. Compared to you guys, I definitely can't compare. It's just a small matter, not worth mentioning. Since you want to talk back to me, then let's talk back. If you want to fight, then let's fight. How dare you?" Zeus's voice was like thunder, and it shook the sea palace. "You kill gods. You killed Athena and Poseidon. You can't atone for your sins." Zeus held the thunder, and his divine power made it difficult for people to breathe. Ning Shu shook his head. "I didn't kill them. How can I, a human, kill a god? A god is not so useless. Poseidon and Athena committed suicide." Zeus was speechless. When Zeus heard Ning Shu's words, he almost choked on his saliva. He had never seen anyone talk nonsense in front of a god. He despised a god, killed a god, and now lied to a god. He had never seen such an unscrupulous person. If he didn't kill him, he wouldn't be able to vent his anger. Ning Shu glared at Zeus, and his eyes were as big as copper bells. He looked like he was about to explode. Ning Shu quickly turned invisible. Even though Ning Shu was invisible, Zeus could still sense Ning Shu's presence based on the fluctuations. He struck Ning Shu with the power of thunder. Zeus's thunder was very strong. Even though Ning Shu could absorb the power of thunder, this thunder was too strong. It made Ning Shu's body numb, and it took him a while to absorb the thunder. But even after absorbing it, the thunder still made Ning Shu's dantian hurt. No wonder it was the thunder of the Thunder Lord. It was so unbearable. Even though the thunder entered Ning Shu's dantian, it wanted to break out and return to Zeus's hand. Ning Shu released the Thunder Dragon to relieve the discomfort in his dantian. The Thunder Dragon rushed towards Zeus. When Zeus saw the Thunder Dragon, he was very angry. He was the Thunder Lord, and now someone was using his thing to deal with him. It was simply a joke. The thunder in Zeus's hand directly cut the Thunder Dragon. The Thunder Dragon was immediately scattered, and the power of thunder was absorbed by Zeus's hand. Zeus withdrew the power of thunder, and a few thin needles flew towards him at high speed. Zeus dodged the thin needles, and the thin needles turned a corner and rushed towards Zeus. Zeus was a prideful person. He had avoided this thing previously because Athena and Poseidon had both been killed by it. Now that he had avoided it once, it was still chasing after him. Zeus' pride as the god of gods did not allow him to avoid it again. Zeus used his shield to block the needle. Although the needle was small, once the compressed violent power inside was disturbed by the outside world, it would directly explode. Zeus was shaken by the huge force and flew back. He hit a pillar, and the pillar was directly broken. The crystal-like sea palace was on the verge of collapse. Although it was a big battle, Zeus didn't suffer any injuries. However, Zeus's complexion couldn't be any darker. He looked around the main hall of the sea palace, closed his eyes slightly, and then opened them. He could vaguely see Ning Shu's figure. Although he couldn't see her clearly, he could still capture her location. Zeus raised the Thunder Dragon in his hand, and a fierce Thunder Dragon slashed towards Ning Shu. No god would be able to withstand such power. Ning Shu saw such a terrible power, and of course, he wasn't stupid enough to resist it. If he was seriously injured and was caught by Zeus, he didn't need to think to know how difficult the following days would be. Ning Shu didn't think that he would be treated well, especially after killing 2 gods and attacking a god. He couldn't escape the crime of killing a god. What if Zeus used all the torture methods on him? Moreover, Zeus had already lost his temper and was now in a fit of rage. Chapter 1879. Ning Shu dodged the thunderbolt, which struck the walls and pillars of the sea palace. The sea palace was unable to bear the heavy burden and was on the verge of collapse. One of the walls collapsed under the ravaging power of the thunderbolt. The thunderbolt did not hit Ning Shu and chased after Ning Shu. At the same time, it continued to destroy the Sea Palace. In the end, the Sea Palace could not bear the heavy burden and collapsed with a rumble, turning into ruins. The patrols in the distance saw that the Ocean Palace had been reduced to rubble and felt unwell. What happened? Where was the ocean god? Ning Shu swam out of the ruins and directly swam to the surface of the sea. Zeus drove the chariot behind him and chased after Ning Shu to the surface of the sea. Ning Shu stood on the surface of the sea and pointed with his finger. The sea water wrapped around Ning Shu's thunderbolt. The thunderbolt was incomparably sharp and directly split the sea water. However, if you cut the water with a knife, the water would flow even faster. There was no hardness in the water that blocked the roaring thunderbolt. Ning Shu compressed the thin needle and shot it at Zeus. Zeus directly used his shield to block the needle. A stream of water wrapped around Zeus' ankle and then slowly wrapped around Zeus' calf. Zeus looked down at the water and directly shook his leg, wanting to shake off the water. However, the water wrapped around his ankle. Ning Shu pointed with his finger and the water wrapped around Zeus' leg directly turned into ice, freezing Zeus' leg. The water in the sea wrapped around Zeus' body and finally froze Zeus into an ice cube. Ning Shu was panting while being chased by Zeus' thunderbolt. He directly used his peerless martial art and released the Star Dragon. The Star Dragon swallowed the thunderbolt. The thunderbolt rampaged through the dragon's body and finally rushed out of the dragon's body. Ning Shu cursed in his heart. In this world she had only mastered the power of thunderbolt. This power was even more violent than the power of the sun. It was not easy to control and was not proficient in it. Moreover, Zeus was the lord of thunderbolt. Sometimes, the power of thunderbolt would not be under her control. A mountain could not accommodate two tigers. Even if it was a male and a female, it was not possible. The power of thunderbolt could only be controlled by one person. Right now, Ning Shu was the one being beaten. The ice sculpture that had frozen Zeus cracked and finally exploded with a bang. Ice shards flew everywhere and reflected the sunlight. Ning Shu didn't expect to be able to deal with Zeus in this way. He just needed to trap him for a while. Zeus looked at Ning Shu, who was being chased like a dog, and asked, "You still have the power of the ice god?" Wasn't freezing the ice god's ability? The ability to freeze everything within 1,000 miles had the ability to turn water into ice. Ning Shu could only keep using water to block the lightning. However, the lightning was unstoppable. No matter what obstacles were in front of it, it did not retreat. Its sharpness was comparable to the metal-type world origin. Zeus's expression was a little serious. The more time passed, the more he felt that this woman was a real threat. She could control water and melt ice. The appearance of this person was a calamity for the Olympian gods. He couldn't let her live. Otherwise, the divine system would be shaken. Unless this woman also became a god and was given a divine title. But fuck, she killed a god and still had to be given glory. It was too sullen. It was like slapping himself in the face. He couldn't bear it. Kill this bastard. Zeus released another powerful thunderbolt, and the two thunderbolts attacked Ning Shu from both sides. Ning Shu was speechless. Relying on the fact that humans couldn't control the power of thunderbolt at will, Ning Shu pointed his finger and a huge wave hit Zeus. Zeus sneered. How could a wave of this level be a threat to him? Although Zeus's body was hit by the wave, there was no damage. Ning Shu pointed his finger and Zeus's body began to freeze again. Zeus was frozen into an ice sculpture. Ning Shu dodged the thunderbolt while pointing his finger. A large basin of water floated up. Ning Shu raised the temperature of the water to the highest. When the boiling water was poured on the ice sculpture, the exchange and collision of cold and hot would make the blood vessels burst. It was like a frozen glass that would explode when hot water was poured on it. Ning Shu was stunned for a moment and was hit in the back by the thunderbolt. Ning Shu immediately felt a heart-wrenching pain and fell into the sea. Even so, the thunderbolt still followed Ning Shu and swore to kill Ning Shu. Ning Shu was in trouble, and Zeus was in trouble too. Although his body was invincible, when it reached a critical point, he would still be hurt. The exchange of hot and cold made some of the blood vessels on Zeus's exposed skin burst, and golden blood spurted out. Ning Shu flashed and appeared in front of Zeus. He reached out and grabbed Zeus's arm. Ning Shu easily grabbed the flesh on Zeus's arm, revealing the white bone. Zeus gritted his teeth and looked at Ning Shu. "How dare you?" His body had never been hurt like this before. Ning Shu's back was already badly mutilated. He smiled and said, "I've never been hurt like this before either. This is the second time." It was the second time he was badly mutilated like this. Zeus's face was bleeding golden blood. "You seem to have the power of the fire god. Only his son, the fire god, could heat water." Ning Shu shook his head. "You're overthinking it. It was just that the state of the water was different. Objects had the ability to absorb heat, but how much they could absorb depended on the object itself. Her water was able to heat up because it absorbed the surrounding heat." Ning Shu's face was pale. His back had been struck by lightning, and there were still residual lightning crackling. It was as painful as rubbing salt on the wound and needles in the bone. Ning Shu absorbed the lightning power on his wound and had to dodge the lightning power. He had no choice but to be chased by such a thing. He was really in trouble. A barrier appeared in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu stood in the barrier and hurriedly mobilized his spiritual energy to heal the wound on his back. Zeus's situation wasn't good either. The two sides were facing each other from a distance. Ning Shu felt that she couldn't delay any longer. Otherwise, what if Zeus summoned his companions? She would definitely be surrounded if she was alone. But what should she do? Zeus was the god king. His strength was not to be underestimated. The possibility of killing Zeus was a little small. But if she ran away now, Zeus would bring an army to suppress her. At that time, she would have to face a sky full of gods. It was equivalent to becoming the enemy of the entire world. It wasn't easy to change fate. Ning Shu's current situation was what she was in. She was in a very difficult situation. Therefore, whether Zeus was alive or dead, she could not let him return to Mount Olympus. As of now, only Athena, Poseidon, and Zeus were involved. The other gods were not involved yet. If Zeus returned, he would probably gather a group of gods to destroy her. Even if she was Superman, she could not deal with so many gods. The gods were not to be trifled with. Chapter 1880. Therefore, Ning Shu decided to keep Zeus here today no matter what. He would do anything to keep Zeus here. And Zeus' disappearance would definitely be beneficial to some. These gods were not a single piece of iron. Everyone had their own selfish motives. Zeus had been betrayed before. Zeus was a god, but because he did not care about the affairs of the mortal world, he was also known as the idle god. The idle god did not do nothing. He had a powerful thunderbolt. When Zeus was angry, there would be thunder in the sky. Together with Athena, Poseidon, and Apollo, Hera tied up Zeus with a rope made of rawhide while he was asleep. They put Zeus' thunderbolt out of Zeus' reach. Zeus was tied up and threatened to execute this group of people. No, this group of gods. They laughed at Zeus and said, "Come if you have the guts." Unfortunately, when deciding who would be the successor of the gods, they had a dispute. Just when everyone was arguing and almost fighting, the goddess of the ocean Thetis came over and interfered. Thanks to the sea goddess, Zeus was unsealed and revived. He tied up Hera, who had led the rebellion, with a golden bracelet and hung her up. The gods saw Hera's miserable state and were angry, but they did not dare to help. Zeus, in order to calm everyone's anger, not only released Hera, but also declared her his legal wife. The condition was that the gods swear to him that they would never rebel. Later, Poseidon and Apollo were punished to go to Troy. Only Athena was not punished, which meant that Zeus knew Athena's strength. And Zeus's feelings for Athena were love. The city walls of Troy were the result of Poseidon and the others' failure to resist Zeus. Being betrayed by his wife, children, and brother meant that Zeus, the god king, did not have the hearts of the people, no, the gods. Without the thunderbolt, The God King was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Ning Shu looked at the thunderbolt in Zeus's hand. What if she took the thunderbolt from Zeus and tied him up with a rope? Zeus' weapon, thunder, and Zeus' shield were both made by the Cyclops. It wasn't just Zeus's weapon. Even Poseidon's trident and Hades's helmet of invisibility were made by Cyclopes. How could she snatch the weapon from his hand? As long as Zeus died, the gods would be busy electing a new god king. Who would have the time to care about her? Ning Shu rushed in front of Zeus, stretched out her hand, and grabbed the thunderbolt in Zeus's hand. As soon as she held the weapon, Ning Shu's hair stood up. Her beautiful face became incomparably distorted. It was too painful. Zeus was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect this rascal to rush up and snatch his things. He must be tired of living. The power of the lightning was getting stronger and stronger. Ning Shu felt as though his body was about to be electrocuted into powder. His opponent must have increased the power output. Ning Shu refused to let go. Her other hand grabbed the wound on Zeus's arm. Zeus's arm trembled reflexively. Ning Shu pulled the thunderbolt with all her strength. In the end, Zeus kicked it away. Ning Shu rolled a few times in the air and fell into the sea with a splash. Ning Shu was speechless. Zeus gloomily looked at Ning Shu. He raised the thunderbolt and released it towards Ning Shu. At the same time, he put away his own thunderbolt. Seeing that Ning Shu wanted to snatch his things, Zeus hurriedly put them away. Ning Shu hurriedly protected herself with a barrier. Previously, she was badly mutilated. Now, she ran to snatch Zeus's weapon. Her body was on the verge of collapse. She was made of flesh and blood. It was very painful, okay? Every time she did a mission, it would hurt a few times. Fight with your life. As the mission progressed, Ning Shu found that the client's status was getting lower and lower. Their strength was also getting weaker. It would take a lot of effort to counterattack. The difficulty increased by a lot. Ning Shu was speechless when he saw Zeus hide his weapon. If you have the ability, use your weapon. Since you don't want to use a weapon, let's fight with our fists. Let's see who can beat who. Ning Shu opened her hand and a huge hammer appeared in her hand. Ning Shu held the hammer with both hands and raised it high to smash at Zeus. Zeus used his shield to block Ning Shu's hammer. The two weapons collided, creating a huge impact. Ning Shu was sent flying by the impact. Of course, Zeus didn't have it easy either. Ning Shu swung the hammer at Zeus again. Zeus was speechless. He could only take Ning Shu's attack head-on. He found that this weak human girl was surprisingly strong. If it weren't for the fact that Zeus' shield was sturdy enough, it would have been shattered by her strength. Zeus found that only the power of lightning was effective against this girl. He couldn't win in terms of pure physical strength. This woman's strength was too shocking. Zeus took out his lightning. As soon as he did, Ning Shu's eyes turned green. She reached out and grabbed Zeus' lightning. Zeus, what was wrong with her? She wanted his weapon? Ning Shu endured the pain and grabbed Zeus' lightning. Neither of them let go. In the end, Ning Shu looked behind Zeus in horror. Athena? Zeus suddenly heard Athena's name and hurriedly turned around. Freeze! Ning Shu threw an immobilizing talisman at Zeus, immobilizing him. Ning Shu pulled hard and snatched the thunderbolt from Zeus's hand. Ning Shu then used an enchantment to seal the weapon. Zeus broke free from the immobilizing talisman and glowered at Ning Shu. You lied to me. All's fair in war. And I really did see Athena. Ning Shu smiled. They were already enemies. There was no need to talk about lying. Without his weapon, Zeus was like a crippled arm. His combat strength was greatly reduced. Ning Shu shook his numb arm. This was too fucking painful. Ning Shu waved her hand, and the seawater converged into a barrier, wrapping Zeus inside. Zeus was trapped in a bubble-like barrier. He struggled with all his might, but he couldn't break free. Furthermore, the barrier was filled with water. Zeus floated in the water and couldn't step on solid ground. Zeus' face turned green. Ning Shu roared, but when he opened his mouth, water would gush into his mouth. It was impossible to hear what he was saying. Ning Shu sat on the water and rested for a while. He felt that his body couldn't take it anymore. After cultivating the peerless martial arts, his physique had improved. However, after being attacked by lightning again and again, Ning Shu's blood was almost depleted. "Come down." Ning Shu raised his head and shouted at the little bird that had been circling in the sky. This little bird wasn't just a little bit timid. When it saw a fight, it immediately flew into the sky. It was scared out of its wits. How useless! It didn't have any awareness of being a powerful creature. Chapter 1881. Did it still think of itself as a little bird? Whenever it encountered something, the first thing it thought of was to fly away. If Ning Shu wasn't here, it would have flown far away long ago. It didn't have a clear understanding of its own strength. Its intelligence was a shortcoming. When the Firebird heard Ning Shu's voice, it quickly flew down and turned into a small ruby bird. It perched on Ning Shu's shoulder. Ning Shu was speechless. "You've become bigger. Carry me," Ning Shu said unhappily. The little bird tilted its head and looked at Ning Shu with a cute and understanding look. It looked very cute. Ning Shu wanted to slap it away. Ning Shu invaded the little bird's consciousness with his consciousness and told it his intentions. The little bird barely understood Ning Shu's intentions. It spread its wings and flew into the air, turning into a huge firebird. Ning Shu pointed his finger and a circular barrier filled with water floated onto the bird's back. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the bird's back and carefully sensed the sunken ship in the sea. Then, a box of gems and gold coins flew up. Ning Shu looked at the box of gems and gold coins. It should be enough for her to live. There were many treasures in the sea. Ning Shu closed his eyes and began to cultivate to repair his damaged body. He couldn't avoid getting injured every time. His body was really pitiful. It hurt so much. However, there was a reward for the effort. At least now, Zeus was sealed by her barrier. In the barrier, Zeus couldn't even speak. Seeing Zeus so young and helpless, Ning Shu felt that his body didn't hurt as much. The most important thing now was to find a place to stay and then slowly deal with Zeus. It would be best if Zeus disappeared and the gods of Mount Olympus were busy electing a new god king. Then Zeus, the god king, would become a thing of the past. Zeus floated in the barrier and saw Ning Shu staring at him with an undisguised and malicious gaze. He suddenly felt goosebumps all over his body. What would this woman do to him? In the barrier, Zeus felt powerless. They couldn't even breathe. Gods had strong bodies. If they were ordinary people, they would have drowned. Ning Shu withdrew his gaze, mobilized the spiritual energy in his dantian, and began to repair his badly mutilated back. Birds fly without direction, as long as they don't fly towards Mount Olympus. The world was vast, and one could settle down anywhere. Ning Shu couldn't take it anymore. His body was too tired, so he laid down on the bird's back to rest. Sleeping was the best way to recover his body. After an unknown period of time, Ning Shu heard the chirping of a bird. He opened his eyes and looked down. He saw a lone island below. Ning Shu patted the bird's back. "Go down." The firebird flapped its wings and flew towards the island. Ning Shu turned his head and looked at Zeus, who was inside the barrier. Zeus' body was floating in the water with his eyes closed. He seemed to be dead. Your uncle didn't believe that Zeus was dead. When he heard Athena like that, her heart was still beating. As long as there was a godhead, Zeus would be fine. He was probably trying to numb her so that she wouldn't fall for it. Moreover, it was better that Zeus was dead, so she wouldn't have to do anything. The firebird landed on the beach of the island. Ning Shu jumped onto the beach. He felt that this island was a little familiar. Could it be the island where Medusa had turned into an ugly monster? When the time came, would there be heroes coming to find her and cut off her head? TSK, after going around in circles, he still ended up here. Since he was here, he might as well stay here. It seemed that she was really fated to be on this island. This island felt like a primitive rainforest. He didn't know what kind of creatures lived on this island. Ning Shu looked at Zeus, who was inside the barrier. He reached out and touched the barrier. The water in the barrier immediately stirred up. Zeus' body spun uncontrollably inside, like he was in a washing machine. Zeus opened his eyes and looked at Ning Shu. His hair fluttered and bubbles came out of his mouth. At least let him speak. Was this woman going to keep him locked up? What if he couldn't get out? Without lightning, he couldn't break this damn thing. Ning Shu reduced the water in the barrier, allowing Zeus to reveal his head. What are you doing? Zeus roared at Ning Shu. I'm going to keep you inside because I don't dare to let you out. Ning Shu smiled like a flower. The sea breeze blew his hair. What a beautiful woman. Zeus was speechless. The gods won't let you go. Zeus gritted his teeth. He was now a prisoner in a water prison. He had punished Prometheus, but he never thought that one day he would be imprisoned by a human woman. What do you want? Zeus had no choice but to deal with Ning Shu patiently. If this matter spread out, how could he manage the gods? How could he intimidate them? Zeus couldn't lose his face. And his weapons seemed to have been stolen. What a vicious woman. Normally, goddesses and human women wouldn't dare disobey him because of his power and status. But in front of this woman, none of that seemed to work. He just couldn't think of anything that could satisfy this woman. Let me go first. My weapon, lightning, is in your hands anyway. I can't beat you, but I won't run away. Let's live on this island, Zeus said. Ning Shu blinked, feeling that this development and style were a little strange. Ning Shu was a little surprised and asked, You want to live with me on this isolated island in the sea? Like a married couple? Ning Shu raised an eyebrow. Zeus nodded. If you want to live like this, I want to too. I'm tired of living in the Olympic forest. A bunch of people are coveting my position as the god king. It's tiring. If we can live on this deserted island together, it's not bad, Zeus said. He looked at Ning Shu with his slightly golden eyes. It seemed like something was about to spill out of them. Ning Shu, Zeus must be playing with her. They were fighting to the death before. It was as if they were going to eat each other alive. Now, they were going to live like a married couple on this isolated island. The situation changed too quickly. It was like a tornado. Zeus didn't think that this was a romantic encounter. He had to calm her down for now. He could still be a married couple with a beauty. Once he was free, Zeus would definitely come back. Ning Shu, do you think you're some kind of sweet cake that everyone loves? Do you think you can do whatever you want now? Is your brain damaged? Ning Shu looked at Zeus in surprise. Giving herself to her enemy, only someone with a mental illness would do such a thing. Then she would wait for Zeus to come back with his people. Then she would painfully ask Zeus why he was doing this to her. Ning Shu quickly shook his head to get rid of the melodramatic plot in his head. Chapter 1882. Ning Shu felt that Zeus was trying to trick her. Dream on. Ning Shu smiled at Zeus. You're the deity king. How can I let you live such a hard life with me? Moreover, on an isolated island, there's no one, no people to worship, and no gods to submit to. It's too hard on you. Zeus said, the deity king has his own difficulties. I'm willing. Let me go first. Ning Shu reached out and flicked the barrier. The water in the barrier suddenly surged. Zeus' body couldn't help but flip over. It was like he was in a washing machine. It was so dizzy that he almost vomited. Zeus was speechless. Ning Shu pressed his hand on the barrier. The barrier immediately quieted down. Zeus spat out the water in his mouth and looked at Ning Shu. What do you mean? I agree to live with you. Ning Shu put his hands behind his back and smiled like a flower. Under the sea breeze, his hair fluttered. He really looked like a beautiful girl. Zeus looked at his face and was momentarily dazed. However, he recovered. If you agree, why won't you let me go? Let's live like this. I'll have to trouble you to stay in there. I'll have to look at your handsome face every day. Ning Shu's face was small. Zeus' face twitched. He was instantly annoyed. You're playing with me. Ning Shu waved his hand. Don't worry. As long as I have a bite to eat, you'll have a bite to eat. Zeus was speechless. Ning Shu found a wide leaf and laid it on the beach. Then he lay down on the sofa and started to rest. The bird's wings had grown, and it couldn't block the sun for Ning Shu. However, its wings were full of flames. When it got close, it burned Ning Shu's hair. Ning Shu was speechless. "Go play somewhere else," Ning Shu said indifferently. Ning Shu closed his eyes to sleep. Beside him, Zeus silently looked at Ning Shu. What the hell was this? He was Zeus, and now he was imprisoned. If this news were to spread, where would he put his face? This was not the scariest thing. The scariest thing was whether he would be killed by this woman. He had killed Athena and Poseidon without any hesitation. It was obvious that he was a ruthless person. Zeus could only hope that his identity as the god king would cause the other party to fear him and not dare to make a move. After Ning Shu woke up, he stretched his body and took out the goat skin. He took out a brush and ink and began to draw talismans. Invisibility talismans, body-securing talismans, and all kinds of talismans. There were also charms that could resist the calamity. She had the halo of faith, but Medusa didn't. "Try cursing me," Ning Shu said to Zeus. Zeus ignored Ning Shu. He was vigilant. No one would allow others to curse them. Crazy. Zeus ignored her, so Ning Shu stirred up the water in the enchantment barrier. The enchantment barrier was not big, only big enough for Zeus to stand. Zeus was caught off guard and drank a mouthful of water, causing him to choke to death. Zeus's expression was ugly. "Kill me if you can." "Are you cursing me?" Ning Shu said to Zeus. Crazy. Zeus cursed in his heart. Seeing Ning Shu looking at him covetously, he could only curse casually. He muttered to himself, wanting to turn Ning Shu into a little white rabbit. The only way to break the curse was to let him go. Ning Shu, a cloud of cursed black smoke flew towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu held the talisman between his fingers. "Go." The talisman flew towards the black smoke. The black smoke surrounded the talisman. The talisman slowly turned black and lost its effect. The black smoke was almost absorbed by the talisman. Ning Shu scratched his head. It seemed that the power of the talisman still needed to be strengthened. This was just an ordinary god's punishment curse. If it were a more terrifying curse, the talisman would definitely not be able to withstand it. It seemed that it needed to be improved. Since the curse was based on power, there would be a limit to the power. Ning Shu kept drawing with a magic pen. Zeus, who was in the barrier, was speechless. This girl actually blocked the curse. Ning Shu finished drawing the talisman and wanted to see if it would work. He said to Zeus, "Curse me again." Zeus closed his eyes and did not want to look at her. Curses could be cursed, but there was a price to pay for God's punishment. He was trapped here, and every bit of power he used was a little bit less. "Don't go too far." Zeus looked coldly at Ning Shu. He had the noble temperament of a god king. Even if he was a prisoner, Zeus was still a proud god king. Ning Shu did not care about Zeus's gaze at all. He said, "Curse me again. Maybe cursing me will make you feel better." Cursing could vent the anger in one's heart. Moreover, this kind of curse could come true. It was awesome. Zeus, this woman was crazy. But Zeus was very smart. He obviously felt that he was a lab rat. The other party was testing the power of the talisman, and it was obvious that it could withstand the power of God's punishment. This was not a good thing. If every human had a talisman like this in their hands, the divine punishment would no longer be a threat or deterrent to humans. Zeus stared at Ning Shu. "Who the hell are you?" Ning Shu said, "I told you to curse me. What are you doing? Hurry up and curse me." Zeus, crazy. Zeus ignored Ning Shu. What kind of god king was he? He wasn't someone who could do whatever she wanted. Ning Shu looked at Zeus's stubborn expression. He tapped his finger, and the water in the enchantment slowly froze. This was especially true for water that had been compressed. Zeus felt his body go numb. The coldness was like needles stabbing into his muscles. Even though he had a divine body, he still felt extremely cold. Zeus breathed out white mist. His face was blue from the cold, and his nose was red. Zeus's teeth chattered. "Don't go too far. If you go too far, there will be no way to clean up this mess." Ning Shu shrugged nonchalantly. Even if I don't go too far, would you let me go if I let you go now? Zeus fell silent. His pride did not allow him to let this woman go. She did not care about his status and power. Didn't she want anything? He didn't care about status, but he also had strength. If he didn't have any desires, he wouldn't be able to find anything to exchange for it. You're cursing me. Ning Shu put his hands on his waist and said to Zeus. Zeus had no choice but to curse Ning Shu. This time, he cursed Ning Shu to die alone and become an ugly old woman. The black smoke of the curse floated towards Ning Shu, and the black smoke was very thick. It seemed that Zeus was angry this time, and he had to pay a lot. It could be seen from the black smoke of the curse. Ning Shu threw the talisman at the black smoke. The talisman paper shone with a golden light, and the black smoke slowly dissipated under the golden light. However, in the end, the talisman paper turned into black paper. Chapter 1883. Ning Shu was not very satisfied with the effect of blocking the curse. If it had been a more vicious curse, the charm would not have been able to block it. Ning Shu felt a little helpless, and Zeus was even more speechless. His previous god's punishment was very serious, and Ning Shu was cursed to become a loner, but Ning Shu had blocked it. What on earth was this? He was not familiar with this kind of power, and had never seen it before. Ning Shu improved the charm again. With the combination of the charm and the array, the power of the curse would be greatly reduced. To put it bluntly, the purpose of the charm was to take the place of the cursed person to bear the curse. Ning Shu mobilized the spiritual energy in his dantian and then began to draw a charm. This was Ning Shu's new charm. Ning Shu had tried it many times but had not succeeded. Ning Shu put down the magic pen and moved his wrist. Next to him was the fruit that the firebird had picked on the island. The fruit was red and looked very delicious. Ning Shu took a bite of the fruit. Seeing Zeus staring at him, he asked, "Do you want to eat it?" Zeus did not speak. His golden hair was draped over his face, and he looked like a handsome man who had just come out of the shower. His long eyelashes were wet, which made them even more obvious. His eyes were moist. Needless to say, Zeus's appearance was good. Otherwise, he would not have given birth to the handsome Apollo, the beautiful Athena, and all kinds of beautiful goddesses. Good genes were the foundation. Seeing that Zeus was not speaking, Ning Shu ate his own fruit and then drew a charm. However, the charm almost drained Ning Shu's spiritual energy. After drawing the charm, Ning Shu's face was extremely pale, and then he sat cross-legged to cultivate. When he felt better, he asked Zeus to curse him. After all, he had to find a way to put an end to the god's curses once and for all. After cultivating, Ning Shu said to Zeus, "Curse me. Make it big." Zeus was speechless. Zeus was furious. What was this? What did he think he was? How could he curse him just because he wanted to? No one had ever taken the initiative to ask for divine punishment, and he had to pay for it. Zeus stared at her. "Do you really want me to curse you?" "Of course." Ning Shu nodded. "Come on, make yourself at home. In the name of the God King, I summon the King of Hades from the abyss of hell. He shall trample on death and take away the human who has offended the majesty of God." Zeus fixed his gaze on Ning Shu, his mouth spitting out an ancient chant. Ning Shu almost jumped up. Shit, not good, Zeus is going to summon Hades. Now that Hades was here, he would not be easy to deal with. Zeus stared fixedly at Ning Shu with a trace of contempt in the corner of his mouth, as if he was looking at Ning Shu as a joke. As Zeus finished his last word, the entire sky turned dark. A distorted hole appeared in the sky, and a hand stretched out. He could not let Hades escape. With a tap of his finger, he set up a barrier around the black hole in the sky. Then, the water in the ocean rushed into the black hole. The black hole swallowed the water. At the same time, Ning Shu kept chanting the rebirth scripture in his heart. Since it was a creature of hell, the rebirth scripture should be useful. Ning Shu kept strengthening the barrier and the yang gathering array. Creatures of hell were all dark-type creatures and were afraid of light. They gathered the surrounding yang energy to make Hades uncomfortable, so it would be best if he could return to the underworld. Hades, brother, come out quickly. Zeus saw the situation and immediately shouted. Fuck, what was the situation now? The seawater kept pouring into the black hole. Hades had 1 foot out, but it was blocked by the barrier. Moreover, the water was pouring into his underworld through the underworld passage. If this continued, the underworld could not be flooded. Moreover, this was the water of the human world, which was different from that of hell. Hades had no choice but to close the black hole and disappear. Hades left without even showing his face. Ning Shu did not see what Hades looked like. He only saw 1 hand and 1 foot. However, Ning Shu was relieved that Hades did not appear. The black hole in the sky disappeared, and the sky returned to its clear state. The little firebird hiding in Ning Shu's chest carefully poked its head out and looked around. Ning Shu directly took it out and threw it away. What the hell was this? It was fine if it was timid and hid, but it also hid in his chest. Scram. Zeus silently watched his brother disappear. At least come out and take a look at him. He could send a message to the god of Mount Olympus and ask someone to save him. Ning Shu wiped the cold sweat on his head. He had almost been exposed. Perhaps he had already been exposed. It seemed that the situation was not good. Ning Shu stared at Zeus. Zeus coldly said, "You asked me to curse you." Ning Shu had miscalculated. He did not expect Zeus to summon Hades. This was beyond Ning Shu's expectations. Moreover, Ning Shu lacked understanding of God's strength. After all, Medusa was just an ordinary and humble priestess. God was omnipotent. She did not question the gods. Medusa used to think that way. Now he had to get rid of Zeus. Otherwise, something else would happen. Ning Shu wanted to secretly get rid of Zeus. Then the gods would know that Zeus was dead and would elect a new god king. But now that Hades had appeared, even if it was out of brotherhood, Hades would definitely inform the gods of Mount Olympus. Ning Shu opened his hand. The weapon, Thunderbolt, which was wrapped in the enchantment, flew into Ning Shu's hand. Even though it was wrapped in the enchantment, Thunderbolt still flashed with powerful thunder power. The most important thing now was to destroy the weapon. Without a weapon, the God King would not be a threat. And without a weapon, Zeus would not be able to suppress the gods below. They would all jump out and rebel against him. Ning Shu covered the thunderbolt with frost and froze it. This frost could be considered 1,000-year-old ice. Ning Shu kept compressing the seawater and then froze it. After freezing it for a while, Ning Shu placed Thunderbolt in boiling water. He used the power of the stars to create a giant hammer. He held the hammer and smashed the hot and cold Thunderbolt. Normally, when the hot and cold alternated, the object would become brittle and easier to destroy. Thunderbolt was a weapon made by the Cyclops. If it was a weapon, it could be destroyed. Ning Shu held a huge hammer and smashed the thunderbolts again and again at high speed. Ning Shu's huge power smashed into the ground, causing the entire island to shake. Thunderbolt flashed with thunder power, but it was fine. It really was the God King's weapon. Ning Shu exclaimed. His fingers moved quickly and set up a yang gathering array. He gathered the yang qi of the world. The sun was shining in the sky. It was very hot. The sand on the beach was so hot that it could burn your feet. After setting up the yang gathering array, the heat surged into the array and ignited the power of the sun. It burned Thunderbolt. If it was frozen, it would be scalded with hot water. Now that it was roasted with fire, it would be hammered again. Chapter 1884. Zeus was dumbfounded as he watched Ning Shu play with his weapon. What was he trying to do? What kind of hatred did this woman have for his thunder? Why are you doing this? Zeus asked Ning Shu. He really couldn't figure out why she had to risk offending all the gods in the world. If you want me to let you go, it's not impossible, Zeus said. Ning Shu squatted next to the sun-gathering array. His hair was burning from the heat. He turned to look at Zeus and grinned, revealing his white teeth. Can you really let me go? Zeus swallowed a mouthful of saliva and nodded. Okay. What should I do? I don't believe in gods. Ning Shu turned and stared at the thunder in the array. The thunder was still strong under the heat of the sun. Ning Shu removed the sun-gathering array and reached out to hold the thunder. The thunder flickered with the power of thunder and crackled. Ning Shu's body was numb from the electricity. Ning Shu used his peerless martial arts to absorb the power of thunder from the weapon. The violent thunder rushed into Ning Shu's body, as if it wanted to destroy Ning Shu's body. After all, it wasn't his power. It was so difficult to tame. Ning Shu endured the heart-wrenching pain and absorbed the power of thunder. Without the protection of the thunder, let's see what you can do. After absorbing the power of the thunderbolt, Ning Shu repeatedly froze it, heated it with hot water, and smashed it with her hammer. Finally, with a bang, the thunderbolt weapon finally broke into pieces under Ning Shu's torment. The violent thunder in Ning Shu's body had now calmed down, quietly occupying a corner of his dantian. Ning Shu shook her numb arm. Every time she smashed it with force, the huge recoil shook her arms so much that her bones were about to break. Zeus looked at Ning Shu in a daze. Damn his weapon. Ning Shu let out a long breath and wiped the sweat on his head. It was finally destroyed. Now the threat of Zeus could be eliminated. Zeus's expression was extremely unsightly. Lightning and Zeus's shield were used to intimidate the gods. Lightning was the most powerful one, while Zeus's shield was used for defense. It didn't have powerful attacks. Was he going to rely on Zeus' shield to defend himself and not fight back? Zeus's face was ashen, and he looked extremely haggard. Zeus understood that his situation wasn't good. Even if the gods brought him back without enough power, he would still be pulled down from his position as the God King. Before Ning Shu could even catch his breath, the sky started to fill with dark clouds, and the wind started to blow. One after another, gods appeared in the sky above the island. There were both men and women. Ning Shu had been thinking about this scene for a long time, but now it had appeared. The divine might released by the densely packed gods was about to sink the island. The scene in Ning Shu's imagination appeared. There was only one feeling in Ning Shu's heart. It was finally here. Countless melons on a vine. Ning Shu immediately broke through Zeus's barrier and said excitedly, "Look, they're here to pick you up. You can go back to the divine mountain. Remember to take me with you." Zeus was speechless. Motherfucker. Zeus couldn't feel happy in the face of a sky full of gods. If lightning hadn't been destroyed by this crazy woman, he would be happy that these people had come to save him. But now, he didn't have the power to intimidate the gods. There was no difference whether he saved them or not. Zeus felt very awkward, very awkward. God King. Everyone bowed to Zeus. Zeus's wife, Hera, stood at the front. She was also Zeus's sister. She asked, "God King, I heard from Pluto that something happened to you. What happened?" Ning Shu immediately jumped out and said, "Athena and Poseidon rebelled and were killed by the God King. Now, the God King is injured." Hera squinted at Ning Shu. "Who are you?" It seemed to be a human. Hera's expression was cold. Could it be another of Zeus's women? Ning Shu smiled and said, "I'm Athena's priest." "Oh, Medusa." Even the gods knew how beautiful Medusa was. Ning Shu looked honored. "It's me." Athena and Poseidon attacked together. The God King's lightning was destroyed. Lightning was destroyed. Ning Shu's words made the gods' expressions turn strange. Even the atmosphere became strange. Hera's aura became much sharper. She asked Zeus, "Is it true? Even lightning was destroyed?" Zeus wanted to strangle Ning Shu. This woman was talking nonsense. She had exposed his weakness. Zeus didn't speak. Ning Shu said, "You can't imagine how dangerous the situation was. The gongs and drums filled the sky, and firecrackers went off. The situation was very dangerous." Ning Shu moved closer to Zeus. He seemed to be afraid of Hera. Hera suddenly smiled, looking incomparably beautiful. "It's fine as long as the God King is fine." Zeus frowned, looking very melancholy. Ning Shu looked vain. He asked Zeus, "Can I go to the divine mountain? I've never been there before. Will you take me with you, God King?" "Scram," Zeus said. Zeus said to the gods, Now, kill this woman for me. Ning Shu immediately howled, Divine King, how can you do this to me? You're burning the bridge after crossing the river. I saved you, how can you do this to me? You even said that you admired my beauty, but you're being oppressed by the tigress at home. Ning Shu spouted nonsense. He glanced at Hera, who had a fierce expression. Hera's eyebrows were raised. Ning Shu realized he had said something wrong and immediately covered his mouth. This woman killed Athena and Poseidon. Kill her now. Sun god, kill her. Zeus was so anxious that he was about to cry. This woman was sinister, cunning, and shameless beyond his imagination. Fuck you, why are you acting like you love him now? That means she's still afraid of the gods. Ning Shu wailed and kicked her legs on the ground. King of gods, I betrayed Athena to save you. You can't do this to me. Hera looked at the superficial and vain Ning Shu and couldn't help but twitch her mouth. She wanted to get close to the king of gods. Zeus was a lecher who only wanted to have sex with her. He wouldn't take responsibility for her. Unless she was a goddess, at least a goddess could claim the title of lover. All right, stop howling. You're a human woman. You can't go to the divine mountain. Since you saved the God King, I won't punish you, Hera said coldly. Ning Shu's face was full of unwillingness. She asked Hera, can you give me some benefits? I risked my life to save the divine king. He's the divine king. Can you give me some benefits, like eternal youth? Hera. Chapter 1885. Such a shallow woman. Hera had been very angry when she heard that she was a tigress. However, such a shallow woman wasn't enough to take her seriously. Moreover, she was a human. Did she think that she could turn things around just because she had the divine king? Idiot. Hera had dealt with countless women like this. No reward, Hera said. Ning Shu was annoyed. I saved the God King. Was the God King so worthless? Zeus was speechless. Damn it, without the lightning, without the power to intimidate the gods, none of them would listen to him. Moreover, Hera was the empress and had great authority. Even the gods were afraid of her. At this time, many of them listened to Hera. God King, let's go back to the divine mountain, Hera said to her younger brother/husband. Zeus was in a dilemma. Whether they went back or not, it was a trap. Should they run now? Where could they run? Earlier, Hera, Athena, Apollo, and Poseidon had tied him up and taken away the lightning. Now that he didn't have the lightning, he had to face that situation again. Damn it. Zeus pulled Ning Shu. We can go back, but you have to take this woman with you. Ning Shu's eyes immediately lit up. Are you really going to take me to the sacred mountain? I heard that there are many gods in the sacred mountain, and there are many divine fruits. Eating a divine fruit can make you immortal and stay young forever. Is that true? Ning Shu looked terrible. I'm willing to go with you. Zeus was speechless. Damn woman. Hera's expression turned ugly. She said to Zeus, the divine mountain is not a place where a human can go. God King, you can't take a human there. Moreover, the divine mountain is very dangerous. She's a human. Wouldn't you be harming her? Zeus rubbed his brows. He was very anxious. Sister, this woman killed Poseidon and Athena. You can't underestimate her. Ning Shu was confused. He didn't know why Zeus said that. I didn't. How could I defeat Athena and Poseidon? I know. You're going to take me to Mount Sumeru in this way, right? Ning Shu punched Zeus' chest. I'll listen to you. Zeus's sternum was almost caved in by Ning Shu's enormous strength. This woman was simply crazy. There must be something wrong with her brain. God King, let's go back, Hera said impatiently. Zeus did not move. If the woman escaped this time, she would be even more difficult to deal with in the future. She would definitely find a way to deal with God in the future. Plus, Zeus had been used as a lab rat. The woman was getting stronger and stronger, but God was oblivious. This was a very dangerous situation. His sister, Hera, had always been jealous. Now, she probably thought that he had taken a fancy to this woman and insisted on bringing her to the divine mountain. Zeus could only curse in his heart. He might not be able to keep his position as the divine king, and this woman was a threat to the gods, but he couldn't say anything. Zeus pointed his finger, and the scene of Ning Shu fighting Athena and Poseidon appeared in the air. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes and looked at Zeus with a tolerant smile. Yes, I killed Poseidon and Athena. You're right. Take me to Mount Sumeru, please. Zeus was speechless. Hera had had enough of this farce. She didn't care about a human woman, but now that Zeus had lost his thunder, it was easy to deal with him. The scene of her being hung upside down was still vivid in her mind. Without Athena and Poseidon, she would have one less competitor. It couldn't be better. As for how Athena and Poseidon died, she didn't care. Now, Zeus should give up his position as the divine king. Hera flew in front of Zeus and reached out to hold his arm. Brother, let's go back to Mount Sumeru. Ning Shu looked at Hera and Zeus, who were holding each other's arms, with an aggrieved expression. He was full of resentment as a single dog. Zeus wanted to break free from his sister's arm, but Hera held on tightly. Zeus said in a low voice, "Everything I said is true." Hera turned to Ning Shu, who was full of resentment. "Do you want to go to Mount Sumeru?" she asked coldly. "Can I go?" Ning Shu's eyes shone with greed. "No, you can't. Humans can't go to Mount Sumeru. There are all kinds of monsters there that will swallow you whole. There are all kinds of dangers." Hera looked at Ning Shu. "You can go if you want." Ning Shu's face turned green. He hurriedly waved his hand. I'm not going." Ning Shu retreated and ran into the dense forest. The queen's crown on Hera's head reflected a dazzling light. Zeus' eyes hurt when he saw the light. Hera, who had always been noble and cold, smiled gently at Zeus. "Brother, let's go back." Hera pulled Zeus onto the chariot. "Let's go back," she said majestically to the gods. The gods followed behind Hera. Ning Shu looked up and saw the gods leave through the gaps in the forest. Ning Shu let out an imperceptible sigh of relief. "Hey!" A man's voice came from above. This voice was full of masculinity. Ning Shu looked up and saw Apollo standing on the chariot with his slightly curly hair. Apollo's face was exquisite and handsome. To describe a person, it was best to say that he was angular and handsome, like the ancient Greek sun god Apollo. What did Apollo want? It was time for the throne to change. As Zeus's son, Apollo had a chance to become the next god. Of course, Hera also had her own son. Ning Shu looked at Apollo's face. "You're even more handsome than the god." Apollo frowned. "What a shallow woman." Ning Shu looked at Apollo expectantly. "Did the gods send you to take me to Mount Sumeru? But Mount Sumeru is so dangerous. The god must have sent you to protect me." Apollo was speechless. How could this human woman be so shameless? He was a bit puzzled. To be safe, he stayed behind to take a look. In the end, she was such a shallow woman. Although she was beautiful, it was only on the surface. Extremely gaudy. His father was really a hungry man who couldn't be choosy. It was a mistake for him to stay. Apollo was about to leave when Ning Shu called out to him. "Take me away from here. How can I live on this island alone? It's so far away. I can't swim back." Apollo's mouth twitched. This woman thought too highly of herself. Leaving such a powerless woman on this island was the best punishment for her. Without food, she would be in great danger. She might even die on this island. Apollo drove the chariot away, ignoring Ning Shu's heart-wrenching cries. In a flash, he disappeared. Ning Shu put down her waving hand and found a mossy rock to sit on. With a tap of her finger, water appeared in front of her. Ning Shu swallowed the water to moisten her throat. It was as tiring as a fight. The firebird emerged from Ning Shu's chest. Ning Shu was speechless. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.